And we are live! Sorry there, I had a little error out. So I had to restart the stream again. Hi, how is everybody? Lolly starting a lamb cult while I watch today. Ho! Good to see you, Demons. Glad to have you. Wait, starting a lamb cult? Jellybean, Lolly, how? Good to see you, glad to have you. Tethys, good to see you, glad to have you. Lolly, good to see you, glad to have you. Ray, good to see you, glad to have you. Remind you, no spoilers. Sarah, good to see you, glad to have you. The boy lives. I do live. Actually, does the other boy live? No. He was here. Deadpool was just here a second ago. Yeah, starting a lamb cult, playing Cult of the Lamb. Ah, that explains it a lot more. How's everybody doing today? Well, we have a second. Why don't I pick up one of these optional quests as we do get ready for the warm-up? I need to talk to you, Adventure. I was down in the snow house keeping out of the winds when I heard the whispers. I swear it on the lives of my chocobo. I couldn't see anyone. Oh. It's very quiet because I didn't have my mic in place. How's everybody doing? Good to see you, glad to have you. Can you hear me now? Do I sound like a human being? Yeah. I need to talk to you, Adventure. I was down in the snow house, keeping out of the wind when I heard the whispers. I swear it's on the lives of my chocobo. I couldn't see anyone in here, but I'm sure I heard something. Go on and see to us else. I don't know how I'll sleep tonight. I have to move my mic out of the way because it's not mounted. It's mounted on a boom, so it like knocks into me otherwise. Tracy, good to see you, glad to have you. Sarah, good to see you, glad to have you. Demins, good to see you, glad to have you. I'm gonna do good to see you, glad to have you again. Shlolly, good to see you, glad to have you. Jellybean, good to see you, glad to have you. Now you don't sound like you're speaking from inside a Tupperware container. That would help. One would think. Hello, I are Snowman, man of snow, dripping we is, our hold on life slipping. Sad am I, are so many dreams we had. Rally my spirits, won't you, ere the final. Jesus Christ! Profane you do our pain with a rally so mundane as to shelter with a booth. My arse-bound heart do soothe. Willing I are to take the top bailing, a battery of gallantry from the artillery of flattery. Cheer us until dry are the tears. Who wrote this? Like me you do, really twice does lightning strike. Kiss me, friend, if us you'll miss. Throw it, though not nice to smooch on snow. Lordy! What's the emote for? Socially. Kiss Snowman. Give Snowman love. Heat Snowman to Snowman's oblivion. Farewell, adventurer. So many troubles you quell. Peace we is at. Drunk we have life to the lees. Bye-bye, world. All that lives must someday die. Guys, can I point out that this ARR quest... This ARR quest is literally the embodiment of the narrative up unto the story's final moments in Endwalker. Just pointing out. Deathberry, good to see you, glad to have you. Silence. Did he use the wrong buy? Oh, Silver Gogaku! Thanks so much for the 5 memberships. I really appreciate it. It's been a slow, well, not slow day, but it's been a kind of a stressful day. I really appreciate it. All must someday die. I dig nihilistic snowman. I don't, but is he nihilistic?
Because I find that to be a pragmatic, accepting snowman, because he refers to the beauty of life, right? He does not find life valueless, only accepts that it is ephemeral. And that's a repeated motif of 14. Good afternoon, Cathra. Good to see you. Glad to have you. So is this someone playing a prank, or is this Frosty the Snowman type situation? I don't know. Isn't there a quest later that kind of implies that someone else is also voices for it? Did you find out who was talking? I can see from your aspect you did. A snowman, you don't say, and speaking in rude poesy. I see now. Someone's having a bit of fun with both of us. Likely some young'uns. Ha! I'll rest easy now. I can tell you that. I'm pretty sure there's like a continuation where like you find out someone else is speaking behind it. If you enjoy the stream and you aren't already a member of our Discord, why not come join us? It's true, you should. We have a good time talking there. All sorts of conversations. What shall we do with all the memberships? What shall we do with all the emotes? We'll put them to use. With the gobby burns and the comfy Elio. Greetings, Elio. You look very much a teacher today. That is well, for Hydaelyn is eager for her first lesson. Now, though you agree to accept her as your pupil, I suspect you are not without reservation. You worry whether you will be equal to the task. Well, worry not. I have every confidence that you will make a fine mentor. Were I to offer you advice, it would be to have patience. Though Hydaelyn is master of her art, it is all she has ever known. As such, it may prove a challenge for her to adapt, and like all of us, she is not without pride, and there will be times when tact is required. I must also mention that Hydaelyn is zealous to a fault. I worry that she will overexert herself in pursuit of strength, but I'm keeping you from your lesson. Hydaelyn left word that she would be in the Western Highlands, testing her lance against Dragonspawn. Seek her out near the pike. It's a good thing that we got to the Western Highlands. Thank you, Jellybean. Okay, a little bit better. Hey, DD, good to see you. Glad to have you. How goes it? Is that the quest, or is that the... No, that's Memories in the Snow. Well, might as well pick it up. Well, did something in game I'm happy about, but do not want to say what it is because of spoilers. Was it MSQ related, or was it something else? You can talk around it. MSQ, yes. Which expansion? Endwalker. Oh man, that could be a lot of things. Yeah, can't really narrow it down from there other than like mentioning certain maps, but even then that's like, yeah. Lady, good to see you, glad to have you. Howdy fellow Eorzeans, how we all doing? Are we unbothered? Moisturized? What? Are we unbothered? Moisturized? Elio looking better than ever, and I'm not biased at all. Thank you for noticing. It's very true. Lady was just forwarding me some of the art that she was working on. For instance, Urianja fiendishly staring at, well, didn't draw the second part of this, but staring at the Warrior of Light's ass. I believe, actually, how did you put it? Let me put, yeah. I may be drawing Urianja checking Wool's fat Highlander arse because I'm anxious. And it is most lovely art. I like how soon as I bought those, my stream crashed and I had to refresh. Oh, well, Silver Kogaku, then let me say again, thank you so much. I very much appreciated it. And it was a good start to the day. Having a little bit of a boost in the morning is, well, I guess it's the afternoon for me, but is very helpful. There are too many. Look out. One dragon's ass is kicked, and then a second dragon's ass is boot. Well, I can't work on my PC lately much. It's melting like shit. Jesus. So I have to stick to paper until life goes okay again. Till then, paper, paper, paper. Well, at least you are highly skilled at being able to draw on paper as well. I know a lot of digital artists who can't also draw on paper. I owe you a debt of gratitude. Our lessons have not even begun, and I already have seen you. And already you have seen me on my knees. Little raunchy. I had been trying to match what Lance work of you. Okay, just all this devoid of context. I owe you a debt of gratitude. Sigh. Our lessons have not even begun, and already you've seen me on my knees. I had been trying to match what Lance work of yours I had seen, but without success. Okay, and then the last part. That was how the dragons managed to overwhelm me. Well, I guess if you take the dragons, that was how the dragons managed to overwhelm me. I can draw a tree, and that's about it. I admire those who can draw people. DD, me too. I can't draw for shit. I can't do 2D art. I can do 3D art. I can do also, but I can't do 2D art. LEO art is the only thing I learned to do in my life, and look where it got me. Look who I am. A wonderful individual able to do really fantastic art and be a wonderful member of this community. Yeah, sexy Eorzean. The dragons can overwhelm me anytime. God damn it, Demins. You know, at this point, Demins, I feel like the story is being written for you to be able to do this. Had I but fallen back on my tried and trusted techniques, I would have made short work of their ilk. But what would I have learned then? Nay, what I know is no longer enough. The war exacts a heavy toll on us all, but none are more so than we dragoons. If we are to survive, we must grow stronger. I must grow stronger. Elio, will you demonstrate your technique to me? I would study your movements up close. Oh, actually, with all the memberships you guys have been buying, maybe we have access to more emotes now. I suppose you have the right of it. There is no substitute for live foes. Come with me then. There's a suitable place west of the Black Iron Bridge. Chrissy, good to see you, glad to have you. It's a talent. It's a curse. The problem with Hydaelyn isn't her technique, it's her Leroy Jenkins mindset. Yeah. I mean, the thing is, though, that, like, also the, like, Dragoon Leroy Jenkins mindset works if, like, all you ever know is the, like, obsessive, like, zealotry-laden Dragoon techniques of the, of Ishgard. But if you want to grow, yeah. Baphomet, good to see you, glad to have you. I'm able to catch one of your streams. Damn. Well, it's good to see you and glad to have you. Ice Spirits cameo, let's go! Ice Spirits, indeed. Ice Sprites. Stop it, you lovely you. I wouldn't be able to fit my ego through the door soon, and it's going to get thicker than thanks to you. Well, don't we all want to be thick? Don't we all? Bum, bum, ba-da-dum. The word thick was uttered, so I feel obligated to mention Vidofnir. Okay, lady, I think Demins may need to hire you to, on pen and paper, draw thick-ass Vidofnir. So, that may be a thing that Demins may need to hire you for at some point. Then when you did that, you can always, like, scan it. You can always, like, send it to me somehow, and I'll print it out on my printer, my nice printer, and then we can put it on the wall of fan art. Oh, speaking of, I need to put the Shiva on the wall of fan art. Ishgardians being stubborn seems like nothing new, even if it's a detriment to a current scenario. Yeah, I mean, that's their MO. I mean, but not exactly their credit, but to be fair, you don't last thousands of years against an ardent foe like the dragons if you aren't stubborn and somewhat dogmatic. Like, it will allow you to be conservative and conserve and maintain, but it won't allow you to grow, which is kind of the whole point and story of Ishgard. Oh my god, I'll just draw it with big girthy booty. That work. Ask Demins. That's whatever Demins is into. The technique employs different, not from mine. Yet you overcome the enemy with such ease. What is it that separates us so? What is it that you are doing that I am not? I kick ass more? Did I hear you rightly? You see no difference between our lance work, but in the course of considering this, you conceived a new technique. Let me show you. Brattle at me, yeah!
Thank you, Tethys. Being stubborn is a pretty advantageous personality trait in an eternal icy hellscape. Yeah, exactly. Here, did I say hi already, Tracy? If I didn't, good to see you, glad to have you. I'm here watching, but need to move away from keyboard for a while. No worries, thanks for popping in.
A way to draw out your comrade's strength. Such an approach had never occurred to me. And small wonder, perhaps for we dragoons are taught to be relentless in offense. In order to bring down dragons, we strive to jump higher and strike harder. But in my single-minded pursuit of what I believed to be perfection, 'twould seem I ended up fighting only with my lance. So focused was I upon delivering the next blow, I rendered myself blind to other possibilities. You have opened my eyes, Elio, and I am to transcend my limits. 'Tis plain, I must cast aside my preconceptions. Ah, but the hour grows late. I must needs return to the congregation. Would you care to accompany me? It may interest you to see how your fellow dragoons live.
The only lesson Hydaelyn needs, get good, scrub. I feel like the only lesson Hydaelyn needs is wear some armor, wear some belly armor. Like, please, for the love of God, you live in a cold environment. And also, like, you know, protect your vital organs, you know, the point of armor. Just a thought. I'm thinking we're going to pick up the Dark Knight quest today so I can start leveling Dark Knight off stream. Because then I'll also have Tank Q. Because DPS Q sucks! I don't know if any of you know that.
Welcome to my home. Welcome to the home of the dragoons. I had mind to show you the premise, but my father has paid me a sudden visit. This is my father, Montergains. Father, allow me to present to you my mentor, the Azure Dragoon, Elio. 'Tis an honor and pleasure both to make your acquaintance. I hope you will forgive me for inconveniencing your plans, but what is a father to do? Dedicated to her duties as she is, my daughter scarcely comes home, and so I must go to her. Father, please, we have spoken about this. I would strive to be a dragoon worthy of the name, as you yourself were. All that I do to honor you. My child, you would honor me best by taking care of yourself. Well, I shan't overstay my welcome. Seeing you hale and hearty is enough. Till next time.
The female dragoon armor, just a thought. DPS Q?
He is so kind to me, even though I share not his blood. Like so many others, I was orphaned by war. I would have died long ago, cold and alone, had he not found me and taken me in. All that I have I owe to him. 'Twas for no other reason than to honor my father that I followed in his footsteps to become a dragoon. But if I am to live up to his legacy, if I am to protect Ishgard as he once did, I must needs grow stronger. And I will, under your sage guidance. I look forward to our lessons to come. Ah, it nigh slipped my mind. Sir Albrecht wished a word with you. Pray, seek...
I almost said pray return.
Pray, seek him out at the observatorium at your earliest convenience. Perhaps after you have had a wander inside the congregation.
Give me a second. Oof. I guess I've already looked in congregation a lot before. Darvin, good to see you, glad to have you. And DPSQ, so the first, oh, of course, now there's, well, there you go. So when you, like, queue up for your daily roulettes, DD, DPS takes forever because DPS is never in need. It's almost always exclusively tank with sometimes it being healer. The only time that maybe that DPS is in need is sometimes for Alliance raid, depending on the time of day. Female Dragoon armor, just a thought. Oh yeah, yesterday I got it twice. Yeah, well, also remember that just because you see it, DPS in need doesn't mean you actually end up in get it quickly, because often the amount of time it still takes to get into queue for DPS is such that, like, this'll still change over. Five to 10 minutes. Yeah, that helps if you, depending on your time. I remember being so grumpy with the Dragoon armor when my Fembra
Ra got it, hadn't seen it, or at least didn't realize what the armor was. So when the belly window was there, I was confused. Wait, is the belly window on this armor for the female? Oh, that's so stupid that they don't. That's so stupid. Also, it's stupid because you should be able to have this version, and males should be able to have the belly version. My thanks for coming, Elio. 'Tis no urgent matter. I was but wondering about Hydaelyn's progress. Tell me, how fares her training? Yeah, she's doing okay. Even on female lulls. So you have met her father. In his day, Morriganes was a dragoon of no small renown. He served Ishgard with valor until he took a grievous wound to the knee, and was forced to hang up his lance. As Eorzean herself told you, she follows in her father's footsteps. From the first, she exhibited tremendous potential in all ways. She was Estinian's equal in rivalry, and the rivalry they shared raised both of them higher. Alas, the Eye chose Estinian and not her. Since then, she has taken on training with a fervor which borders on self-punishment. It is well to strive for greater heights, but a dragoon must never lose sight of his conviction. It is only the thing that shields us from the dragon's wiles. So I beg of you, keep watch over Eorzean. By your shining example, see to it she never forgets what it means to be a dragoon. Yep, I've been on outside so much lately the sun started baking my skin, turning this pale dough into some golden bread, and I get how I feel about that. It's been years. I've been wondering about that, lady. It's interesting that you've actually been getting outside. Also explains some things. Toggo would be fantastic for all non-locked equipment. Well, and there's a possibility that we may get that someday, because, I mean, they're ungendering a lot of the equipment. If people tell them on the forums and stuff that they want that, they're like to do stuff like that. I hate it. It's like, why would you leave such a gaping weak point in the armor? Yeah, it's silly. And the thing is that design like that, we get further and further away from the design like that as the game went on. But Heavensward was still in prime WoW dominancy era in terms of development, and so like a lot of that sensibility was still present, as well as still, not the MMOs and games in general aren't replete with like the Tanktini armor set, but the yeah. I feel like of all places, like Ishgard is the one place. Like if it was like Alamegan or Doman or something like that would make sense. But like to have it for the frickin' Ishgardians of all people, especially because she wasn't wearing that armor before. She switches into that armor later on, so it's not like she had it before the calamity hit. Cool. I miss Final Fantasy IV so much, though. Well, yeah, now that I have less access to Vidya, I have more reasons to go out. Helps with anxiety, too. Well, I'm good. I'm glad it's helped with your anxiety. I know you were having problems with that. Yeah, I'll toggle our option to make both an option would be nice for everyone. I mean, like, literally, you have the stuff for the visor, right? Like, you have the button for the manually adjust visor. And a bunch of armor is even coded in the thing to be able to be basically just a variant. And I also wish you could press a button to switch between the male and female poses. However, there may be, animation issues with that. It may be not as easy as it seems because the animations for the female like idle pose for like let's say Dark Knight, like the female like sword in the ground versus the Dark Knight sword on shoulder, the rigging models aren't all the same, so it may not be quite as easy to just like be like yep, boop, now you can, because like obviously you couldn't use the male Aura animations straight up on the female Aura without any tweaking. Final Fantasy XIV misses you too, lady. I don't mind existing at all in game, but I still want the option to not use for class set and not be gender locked. Yeah, I mean, Silver Gogaku, like I wouldn't even use them that frequently, or maybe even at all, and I still am an ardent advocate for it. Another reason to miss Final Fantasy XIV, female bikini sets. Well, right now there's an event going on and they'll get you a bikini. I'll never forget this. In Rift, the tank armor I got once was what looked like Victoria's Secret ruffled underwear. I was like, huh, what? Lol. Yeah, it's all too common. Spaghetti Code monster continues to haunt us. No. So that's not Spaghetti Code. That would be a problem of WoW or any other, or even a modern MMO. It's not an issue of coding. It's an issue of literally the animation file is tied to like the kinematic system, or maybe I think it's probably tied to potentially the kinematic system or the bone system. The animation rig essentially is the important thing here of each. And each gender and race has like their own animation rig. So for instance, anytime you see an animation, even if all races have that animation, they've basically had to take that animation and adjust it for each race. Because for instance, imagine, right, you have your normal human, like they've got this shape of a normal human, right? And you have them do a thumbs up. But then you have an Eorzean do it, but because an Eorzean's taller, their arm doesn't go like that. Their arm goes like that, and like sticks, and it like unnaturally like bends and forces it down because they have different rigs. And that's all video games. That's every video game would have that problem. Unless there's like a dynamic a dynamic rigging system that allows rapid adjustments without needing for manual adjustments, which may exist. Look at the Moonfire bottom. Some people want the other gendered versions. Yeah. I wonder if there are issues around that with... Probably not. Yeah, but definitely. The other interesting thing about the Moonfire bottoms is, if I recall correctly, they... it's one item in the code that switches between the two. So I think they're also making it so it's even easier. It might be easier in the future to implement it. Whereas like let's say like the race clothing is two separate items in the clothes, one for male, one for female. Speaking of Alra, whose idea was it to make Alra women so tiny and males taller than Eorzean? Makes no sense. No, that's just sexual dimorphism. This is funny. This keeps coming up as a subject constantly. No, that's not that weird. I mean, so think about it in terms of like representation of sexual dimorphism in species across the world, and it also adds for an element of interest and zest that distinguishes the Alra further from the other groups. I don't think it's that weird. I feel like I hear a lot of people, this is not the first time I've heard people express frustration with it, but it seems strange to me because it's like, yeah, seems pretty okay. Like different, the same way that, what's a good example? That there's a difference in muscle tone between male and female Rogadin, or the, like having some gendered differences is, I don't think that weird in that respect. In fact, if anything, it'd be kind of boring if it was all just, like, the same. Digball, it's good to see you. Glad to have you. After witnessing the spectacle like that, everyday life seems rather dull in comparison. So you didn't see the trial earlier? Ah, your loss. Fury take me, the way the heretic swung the slab of iron he called a sword was a sight to behold. He couldn't have carried the shield if he wanted to. The blade was so big. Had to keep two hands on it at all times. I was amazed he managed to keep up with the Templar Knights for as long as he did. Fought like a demon from the deepest pits of the seventh hell, bellowing threats and working his arts. I wasn't sure what to make of it at first, but then I heard someone say that he must be a dark knight. But you didn't hear that from me, eh? In fact, I'm sure I didn't know anything about it. You were saying? Go on. Ye gods, are you mad? We're standing outside the bloody tribunal. Fine, but keep quiet and listen, because I'm only going to say this once. Our end, the beginning of my favorite job story. So as I was saying, the heretic was fighting like a man possessed, even after he took several wounds. He showed no sign of pain, though there was no mistaking the blood. As the fight wore on, it began to soak through his armor, spreading to every ilm of his body, but when it began to rise and envelop him as a mist, I realized it wasn't blood, but something dark and twisted. But the righteous are not so easily cowed, Hydaelyn be praised. I screamed myself hoarse when the Templar Knights slipped past his guard and ran him through. Good riddance, I say. Man was not meant to wield such arts. Yet I wonder, was he truly one of those... Well, it matters not. I heard the Temple Knights talking of dumping his corpse in the broom. By sunrise, it'll be stripped bare and tossed over the wall. It will be as though he never was, and as though he never had this conversation. Yeah, female, and I want the guys to look more like... It's neat looking. What? It's one set change is visual, so I hope they let it be toggled later. Yeah, Silver Gogako, I think that's them trying to, in the future going forward, make it so that it's easier to do that systematically. I suspect. Now, why? Because, now, why they didn't just automatically do that for this, I don't know. It may be, my suspicion is, the reason would be that they'd have to not only make the undergarment, that undergarment is based off probably a base model that has already been set to work for all the female models, but they would have to retool it to work for all the male models as well, and vice versa. And so they just haven't done that work yet, but that they might want to in the future, and so they're implementing underlying systems that will allow fixing that and doing that in the future to be more available. Yes, thank you, Tethys, for the RR video. Yeah, I hate the Femme Highlander version of the Hempen Chemist. I prefer the Midlander version. If it's more than one race did, I think it wouldn't be the If more than one race did it, I think there wouldn't be more. No, but if more than one race did it, for me, I would be very frustrated. If every single race had sexual dimorphism in this game, I would hate that. That'd fucking suck. Then it'd be treating women as diminutive, but having a race that has it, you know, as like a part of their identity, I don't mind. So like in my mind, I find it the antithesis of that to be all of the races having extreme sexual dimorphism would be kind of annoying and weird. I think I'd find that weird the same way that other people find only one race having it weird. Yeah, I hate it. It's interesting when it goes the other way on dimorphism, since that happens in nature a lot too. Yeah, I like femme Viera are actually taller than males. Yeah, Decoy, that's a great example. That female Viera are taller. Now the thing is, they're not taller by an incredibly significant amount. They're taller in juxtaposition, kind of like you know, a pure male versus pure female. But at the same time, yeah, I don't mean every, but maybe two. Yeah, I guess I don't know why, if people found it weird, though, about one, why two would make that better. Especially because I feel like the problem people have is not that this is the odd man out. It's mostly that they just don't want their female Ra to be so diminutive compared to a male Ra. And to be fair, they're not really diminutive. I mean, especially in almost all the tribes, female Ra are badass motherfuckers. They're just shorter, really. They're not shown to be particularly weaker or lesser than in any way. Justice has been done this day, as another trial by combat has concluded. According to one spectator, it was a fight for the ages, as the accused wielded a massive sword and worked his dark arts against his foe. In the end, however, he was no match for his opponent, who ran him through to a chorus of cheers. Seeing no need to afford the man a proper burial, the Templar Knights mean to dispose of the corpse by leaving it in the broom. Intrigued by the spectator's account, you consider seeking out the knight and seeing this demon for yourself. Deadly short, gang. That's more than far enough for charity. They'll take care of the rest. And mayhaps sooner rather than later. Come on. Bum, bum, ba, da, da. And we have to do this because we're going to be using Dark Knight for Shadowbringers. So might as well pull it while we're here in Ishgard when it makes sense. That doesn't seem normal. If this is it, is this all that awaits? No. No more. Enough! Open your eyes. Look, do you see now? Do you see? Elio! Elio! That's a fair point, Darvin. And maybe I just have, I clearly seem to have a slightly different, bothered by outlook on it. I mean, to your point, like, would I be down for, like, if they introduced another race for, like, sexual dimorphism more skewed towards males or something? Yeah, I mean, sure. I guess I like having some things that are singular because it makes a race feel unique. But I think I think it's a fair point. I've been waiting for you to open your eyes. You're all right? You're moaning in your sleep and sweating buckets besides. Name's Frey, by the way, and no, I'm not a heretic. Try convincing a Templar Knight drunk on authority of that, eh? Shame that the pompous arse got the better of me. But how about you? You touched it, yes? That couldn't have felt good. Yeah, it kind of felt weird. Heard a voice. A voice, eh? And a rather distressed one besides. Please, someone, anyone! Not so fast. We need to talk about what's happening to you, what's growing within you, before you get carried away. There's a darkness within us all. Nothing dangerous, mind. In fact, it's quite healthy. But the crystal changes you, gives you the power to channel it. Do it without proper training, however, and, well, it might hurt. So go ahead. Ask me to teach you. Ask me to instruct you in the ways of the Dark Knight, and I will. Bring on towering Femhoths. So in canon, Femhoths should be taller than Hroths. Historically. That wouldn't necessarily be odd, especially if they don't have the hunch and they're standing like the Ronso stand and stuff. I think there's a good chance that Femroth could definitely be taller than Hrothgar. I'd actually be pretty surprised if not. Glowy red and black energy. Seems safe. Starting one of my favorite quest lines! One of my favorite too, Deathberry. No, I don't see. I'm incredibly myopic. I know you're still worried about the Screaming Woman, so I'll keep this brief. We Dark Knights don't care one whit for the prestige of pedigree. We are free to follow our hearts, to defend the weak and punish the guilty as we see fit. The law of the land, the authority of a name, these are tools of cowards used to escape harm. We have no need of shields, figurative or literal. Here, my blade is your blade, my soul crystal, your crystal. Go on, take them, you'll need them soon enough. And we are officially a Dark Knight. And the next time you see me, I'll be level 60. No, not really. But, perfect timing. Bum, 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 bum. Lady, can I show that image? Can I show your art of Eorzean looking at the Warrior of Light's ass? Guys, you gotta see this. Need to turn on display capture. Nah, just someone just like let me look wrong direction. Okay, let's see. Tilt head, tilt the other way. Something like that. Fucking glorious. Verily, thine hindquarters are most exquisite. Okay, let's get that thing turned off. Display capture's off. Okay. He knows his priorities. I mean, can send the original pic I used. What was the original pic that you based it off of? Do we need to go to Fort Holmes Manor? Is that where we're going? Yeah. Follow us on Twitter for interesting content. It's true. Someone edited that together. The amount of times people edit together the smile, like on Eorzean or Emmett Selk and stuff, is just like... Why, thank you, my lady. I do like the architecture of Ishgara. I mean, how could you not? Like, it's not my, like, #1 favorite, like, kind of architecture. Soaring buttresses and stuff, like, but boy, do I appreciate the ever-loving shit out of it and love it dearly. I mean, like, the thing is that, like, I don't know why, but I think there's an aspect of Ishgard that its enormity feels more grand than, in some ways, places like Crystarium or Kugane. Now, and definitely more so than like Sharlayan. And I think part of that is that those places are developed to be a lot easier to get around in some ways. But yeah. Oh, I'm glad. Guards, I hope we're not too late. General Rabange, I should have told you sooner. About the execution, I mean. But what with the trial and everything? Let's go save Rabam, guys. Though the situation calls for urgency, it would avail us little to charge headlong into Ul'dah without a plan. Before we can formulate a plan, however, we must first learn how things stand in the Sultanate, which is why I propose that we visit Limsa Lominsa. You heard me right. While you were about your altruistic endeavors, I acted as an intermediary to trade negotiations between House Fortons and Lamincin consortiums. During said negotiations, an opportunity to send word to the Admiral presented itself, and I duly seized it. I am happy to report that we have yet a stout ally in Limsa. The Admiral has pledged her full cooperation in effort to rescue Raban. Accordingly, I have agreed to meet with her, that we might discuss how best to proceed. Naturally, I told her to expect us both. Your presence never fails to embolden our allies, after all. When you arrive in Limsa Laminsa, make yourself known to the Sergeant Xanthiel at the Bulwark Hall on the lower decks. He will meet you to the bridge. Oh, lady, don't, like, my bad spelling is... Ray, would you like to dunk on me and attest to my bad spelling? If it would provide you some catharsis? Xanthiel. The Admiral has been suspecting you. Say the word and I'll take you to her. To be fair, I can actually understand what you were saying. Merwin!
Friends, it is good to see you safe and well. I will admit
We need
I
a
had
sexy...
not counted on you seeking, let alone finding refuge within the Holy See. But full glad was I to learn that you had.
We need a sexy Rogadin
Thankfully,
emote.
we had allies there who took us under their wing. And theirs was not the only
Sorry,
aid
Ray.
we receive, I suspect.
Chris,
When
good
we
to see you.
fled
Glad to have you.
Eldar, we fully expected to become wanted men, known to all and hounded at every turn. Yet that did not come to pass. On the contrary, 'twould seem the charges against us have not been made public. Might we have you to thank for that, Admiral?
Sharp as ever, Master Elfino. On Marshal Terrapin's urging, the Elder Seedseer and I demanded that the Syndicate suppress news of the Scion's alleged crimes until such time as irrefutable evidence could be found.
I'm gonna go ahead and put a...
Our argument was simple.
Oop, whoops.
Lacking
Trying to
proof
change the
to
YouTube.
accuse the saviors of the realm of so unlikely a crime would have the people up in arms. In their wisdom, the Syndicate agreed, as you yourself have seen. There is something you should know. Some few days prior to the banquet, the Elder Seedseer and I were summoned for a private audience with the Sultana. There, she revealed her intent to announce her abdication, that she might pave the way for the establishment of an Uldan Republic.
What? But such an announcement would have plunged the entire nation into chaos.
She was well aware of that. 'Twas for fear of what might ensue that she summoned us. Her Grace wanted the Elder Seedseer and I to lend Rauban a helping hand, you see? To aid him in preserving the peace during the transition.
Very good to see you. Glad to have you, Brian.
Having somehow caught wind of her plan, Lolorito and Teleji plotted the Sultana's assassination in the hope of maintaining the constitutional status quo. But they must have known that her death would sow as much chaos as her abdication. Chaos from which Teleji alone might feasibly stand to profit. Surely Lolorito would never knowingly... Ah, could it be? I dare not hope.
It's a brilliant tactic.
The Uldan authorities have yet to announce the Sultana's passing. To allay any suspicion that may arise from Her Grace's absence, they have issued a statement to the effect that she is presently convalescing from illness.
Mayhap they're waiting for a fitting moment to break the news. Or mayhap they know of some other reason to delay.
Something else has been bothering me, Admiral. I was dismayed to learn that General Rauban is to be executed. Yet upon hearing the news, I could not help but wonder why he had been kept alive for so long. Pray mistake not my meaning. I am, of course, overjoyed that our friend still draws breath. and that he might yet be saved. But if his enemies truly wished to eliminate him, they could have done so immediately. I see no reason for this delay.
Aye, you've struck upon an important point, Master Alphino. Following his capture, Rauban had been held in the Marasaja pit within Uldar. In recent days,
That's how you're supposed to
however,
say it?
he has reportedly been moved to an unknown location.
Okay, I was right. He's not in the Marasaja pit.
Blades who spirited him away either, but a band of soldiers decked in blue.
Me and Naniri were talking
The
about this. He thought he was
crystal
supposed to be in the Marasaja
braves.
pit when we found him, but he's not. I didn't think he was.
Aye. If I read the winds aright, the
in
arrangement
Hall
between
Talley,
Lord
but-
Lolorito and the Braves has come under strain. At any rate, if we're to rescue Rauban, we'll have to find him first. And you'll be glad to hear that I have already entrusted the task to those best able to see it done. Our friends...
The ninjas! Yeah! Let's catch up on you guys. Hello, Chris. Good to see you. Glad to have you. Brian, good to see you. Glad to have you. You didn't mitch much. We just did a little bit of the Dark Knight and Dragoon quest. I have a free... Yeah, I'm just very phonetic. I'll say this is the first, as someone who actually does literally love the modern Merlwyb voice, this is the first time that I've heard it in coming directly out of ARR, and I think when we were in ARR, someone said that they liked the ARR version better, and I can understand. There's an aspect of the ARR one that I think is a little bit better. However, I think also the performer for Merlwyb improves as she goes along too for Heaven's Word onward, because I think 5.4 is excellent. I think she gets a little bit more of the pirate and a little less of the... A little bit more of the row, a little bit less of the femme. Rauban survival... Ooh. The auto run is too fast. Rauban's survival is vital to the Eorzean alliance. We can ill afford to lose him. But I cannot send troops into Uldar to spell the end of the alliance, and war like as not. If there is to be a rescue, it falls to you and yours to attempt it. I would not have it any other way, Admiral. Ah! Why are you not letting me do the thing? It was I who founded the Crystal Braves, and I who must take the responsibility for their actions. Spoken like a true leader, Master Alphino. By way of a first step, you should seek out our Doman contact. You'll find her among the frontier hands at Revenant's Toll, working in the kitchen. Do you guys think swimming in tea would be fun? Or do you think it'd be like swimming in like a juice or like a soda where like there might be a sticky aspect to it? I feel like tea is not gonna have the sticky aspect. I mean, it also depends on what you put into it, right? But like if you just like had a straight like chamomile or green tea. Depends on what tea. Okay, then let's debate. What would be the best tea to swim in? It's just leaf water, so... Yeah, but under that auspice, I mean, soda is just juice water. Des, good to see you, glad to have you. That is such a weird question to hop in on. Well, welcome to the conversation. By the way, Des, what tea do you think would be the best to swim in? I think green tea would be nice. I do too, Ray Ray. I also like, the only tea I particularly like drinking is green tea, so I'm biased. Cold tea, maybe. I'm not dunking in my private areas and nothing that should go into my mouth. Lady. Just gonna say that not dunking anything into my private areas that should go into my mouth, assuming that you're straight, could be, could make some couple arguments. Anyways, moving on. Green tea, strong Elish. Okay, I like that we're on the green tea train, because green tea is the best tea. Strong Elish tea, breakfast tea. Okay. Looked it up, and apparently it's good for your skin and can help with muscle pains. There you go. Thank you, Jalali. Bruh. Jalali, thanks for being on it with the sexy Elizabeth all the time. Hi, Master Elio. I knew in my heart that you were safe, but to see you again in the flesh, words cannot well express my relief. Even as the victory feast was taking place, the Crystal Braves turned upon us and took the rising stones by force. Amid the chaos, some few of my compatriots and I were able to slip away unnoticed. Since then, we have remained in Revenant's Toll, keeping watch over the mutineers while awaiting your return. You have done well by us, and we Domans do not soon forget our debts. We swear to you do all within our power to aid you.
Works also for the game. Okay, that's true. That's true. Tethys, do you have any thoughts about putting things in private areas that you don't want to put in, that you wouldn't want to put in your mouth? Soda's a lot more sugar and probably more acidic usually and seems worse. Yeah, don't get me wrong, Silver Kogaku. There's no question that soda would be way, way worse. My point is that, like, maybe the leaf aspect of the leaf water might be less pleasant than we think. Geez, I have the window open. I hope no one heard that. A nice aromatic, like, mint chamomile tea sounds like a fantastic after a long day. I also would have to say that, like, at the same time, you would also want whatever the tea you jump into be that what you smell like. Like, if I'm not using one of my custom scents, like, usually the custom scents I make are, like, lemongrass, vanilla, and a little bit of sakura. But, like, I'll use, like Japanese cherry blossom for, like, usually what, the perfume I use. And so... Like a cherry blossom tea could also be wonderful to, like, really infuse it into your... Oh, lavender. I hate lavender. Ugh. I hate lavender. I'm sorry, Silver Kogaku. I just really don't like... Lavender smells bad to me. And, like, also, like, smells, like, too much and gives me a headache. But I love the smell. Lemongrass is my favorite scent. But for some reason, it's very uncommon in America to be able to get your hands on lemongrass scented things. It's almost exclusively used in foods. Or not even exclusively used in foods. It's just, like, you don't even get it in foods that often. But it's just relatively rare.
Shortly before you arrived, I received word from Limsa Laminsa that you were searching for General Raban. As Admiral would have informed you, he was recently removed from his cell in the Marsaja pit. At the same juncture, Yu Hase in the 3rd unit was observed leaving the Rising Stones. This can be no simple coincidence. The purpose, we believe, is to escort the Flame General to the scene of his execution. Suffice it to say, we have people shadowing the 3rd. If you would join the hunt, pray seek Doware at the High Bridge, where I too am bound.
Nope, you don't have anything to... Okay. Teth is just like, I ain't having no part of that. Listen, all I'm saying, I was not ruin a perfect tea with my sweet and others, with my sweat and the other stuff the body contains, okay? My partner has chamomile tea bath soak that he adores. Nice. I make lemongrass bath bombs for my personal use. Smack my head. Lavender is good, but too much if it's overpowering for sure. I guess, like, I've just never experienced lavender where it wasn't overpowering. To be fair, though, that's how I react to chamomile. Yeah, I mean, we all got our druthers. Don't mess with lavender hating gang. We barely can handle any smell at all and vomit all over you. Ah, yes. You just put lavender in front of me and I projectile vomit is my secret weapon. Really? I get essential oil thing from Costco that prominently has lemongrass. Really? Darvin! Thank you for letting me know. I think I have a Costco nearby. I'll go check that out. Yeah, it's super rare to be able to find, for me, like, when you go online, there's no, like, major, like, there are people who sell lemongrass scent, but they're always, like, more, like, one-off smaller distributors. They're not, like, it's not, like, a majorly common scent. Also, important to note that also, there's 2 kinds of lemongrass you will commonly find. There's a kind of lemongrass that's incredibly weak that you will sometimes find more commonly, and then there's a kind that is, like, basically the smell of lemon heads. That is the kind that I like. I just finished my relic and it was Heaven's Word, and God, is it a pain to how many poetics you need. Honestly, that's why I like that. The reason I like that is because I can pass... I've got almost all my Heaven's Word relics just by not worrying about it, doing dailies, and just, like, over time pre-buying all my mats. And I literally, in, like, one day, went from having only 1 relic to almost all of them, except for, like, the light, having to do light stuff. I like that because it allows you to, like, passively work on it. But that's just that's where I'm at. Dewade, I have been expecting you. Time is of the essence, so I shall be discreet. Yu Hase and his men are bound for Halatali. I was okay, I just Halatali, yep. We believe that this is where we intend to carry out the execution. Hozan is presently keeping watch over the entrance. Let's make haste and join him. I don't know if it's still there. Well, I'll definitely check it out. I just know that there's not... It's pretty rare to find, like, lemongrass as a common scent. It's not that it's impossible to find, but it's just... It's not one of the more common ones stateside. When I worked at Target a couple years ago, they stocked lemongrass essential oils, too. Nice! Well, maybe it's becoming more popular. I hope so. New merch stores open. Get your stickers of me, Ray Ray. Don't you want a sticker of Ray Ray banning you and put it all over your fridge? You can get magnets, too. I bought some cheap, smelly water lately, so now I smell like vanilla and something flowery 24/7. I like it. I like that, too. Don't we all just want to smell like vanilla and something flowery? I guess I'm also very prone to vanilla. Vanilla is one of my favorite scents. Also, by the way, is it just me or is the camera audio not at the same time?
You can try refreshing your page. Usually that fixes it. If there's more issues than that, we'll try to see if I can sync it out. I grow a ton of various scented herbs to dry and then store in little baggies when it all dried out. Oh, Estriel, that's very cute. I love vanilla. Yeah, vanilla's the shit. You've come at a good time, my friend. But moments ago, the traitor Ilbert arrived and entered Hydaelyn. I love vanilla. I am relatively vanilla. There you go. From this, we may be certain that General Raban is being held within. There's no time to lose. General Aldine may be executed at any moment. You must enter Hydaelyn and free him from his captors. By the way, if none of you understood, that's where the title for Dungeon General is coming from, because the dungeon, Hydaelyn, and General Raban. Please see to your preparations and tell me when you are ready to proceed. One of our own will accompany you inside. Vanilla's yummy. Now I need to watch out for my weirdo mistaking me for a vanilla muffin.
Pray, forgive me my lateness.
Lady Ugiri!
Master Alphino, I am pleased to see that the light of resolve shines in your eyes once more.
Ah, yes. How pathetic I must have seemed to you when we last met. I am ashamed to recall it. For a time, I was well and truly lost. But with the aid of my comrades, I have since refound my purpose, and I shall take care not to misplace it again.
No.
Since your escape,
Is the audio and video out of sync for anybody else?
I have shadowed the Crystal Braves every step, in hopes of learning the Scion's whereabouts. Regrettably, our investigation has yet to yield any useful information. Pray, forgive us.
You need not apologize, my lady. We are grateful for all that you have done on our behalf. Besides, Raban is no less a friend, and we cannot well abandon him to his fate.
Hozan, the three of us shall attend to the Flame General's rescue. Pray, draw away the guards by the entrance. Take Dawade and Higiri with you.
Want. Yeah, I'm not sure what's up with that.
With me!
It is for you demands? Why do you people not tell me this thing? I can try and fix that. Okay, let me know if this is any better, or if this is worse or the same. I mean, my webcam is crap, so it is partly that. Okay, so it is all you guys. Let me know if this adjustment I just did is better. If not, I have another thing I can do. Testing, 1, 2, 3. I am talking. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 10, 11, 12. Any better? It's better? Okay. I think I had it set to a different profile that didn't have like a 0.5 second offset. If it continues to be bad, let me know and I'll fix it. Still about half a second? Okay. Okay, let's fix that then.
Away with you!
Oh, I've totally forgotten what the delay. Oh, right. I don't delay it from the webcam. I delay the audio from the Blue Ember. Okay, I'm gonna turn the sync up. Let me know if this is worse or better. Okay, guys. Testing. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Testing. Testing. I'm gonna try talking to you guys. Maybe I'll try answering some of your stuff. See if, almost worse? Cool. Then I need to go the other direction. Because I don't know which... Now we're gonna try this. Let me know if this is any better. Crystal Brave, Conjurer. Lalafell of the Void! Stone Chew. I mean, I can if you want, you giddy. I could literally just focus on fixing my tech stuff and let you kill them if you're so inclined. Fine now? Everyone agree? It's good? Or at least improved? Because if it's at least improved, we know it's the right direction. If it's still slightly off, let me know, because I can always fix it. I just need to know that it's wrong. It's all good? Cool. The game sound is low? Okay. That's interesting that it's low. Almighty Fury. We'll try that. Let me know how game sound is compared to my audio as we go along. Try clapping. That last part was not useful. Thank you, Tethys. Find our podcast on Spotify. Seems perfect. Cool. Thank you, everyone. Yeah, if there is ever an audio issue or a problem issue, I don't care if I'm midstream, just let me know. The General, but where are his captors? I mislike the look of this. General! You came. No. We come. Gotta love the music. He is bound by some manner of magitech device, yet I dare not force it open. It may well be booby-trapped. I had heard of such devices. The Crystal Braves will possess the key. Let us split up and look for it. That will not be necessary. Oh, pray do not take it personally, my friends. You are a victim of harsh economic conditions. Happily, you will not suffer long. This poison will convey you swiftly onto the bosom of Dahl, where I hope to join you after the passing of many prosperous years. Long Branch, good to see you, glad to have you. I hate that little dick. Talk about nothing but money. It's true. But at least he's got a hysterically low voice. A serpent jam. The mist remains. We must stop it at the source. I shall tend to the General. Pray seed the mist and the key. The Braves have the key. Dude just got his mind on that money. The money on his mind. There's only one thing on my mind. Actually, there's two things on my mind. And one of them is the stream and you guys. Because I like being here with you. And talking to you and hanging out. Okay, three things. Because I also am stressed about trying to make sure I get work done. But there's one other thing that's pleasant and fun. Aw, gay. Look, I have no problem saying that I may not like the male physical form in a sexual way, but I have no problem with being romantic with men. Honestly, I wish I did like the male form in a sexual way. It would have made my life a lot easier, a lot more options. See, my problem is I'm not very good at platonically cuddling. Like, for me, it's hard for cuddles to not, like, be arousing. I have a hard time with that, which sucks. No offense to anyone playing a lolly, but if you listen to them, that is what 90% think about all the time. Well, if they're Ul'dan, so like if they're Dune folk, then yeah. Oh, there it is. But that's usually more specific to being Dunes folk than it is to being a Lalafell broadly. Like, a lot of Plains folk aren't necessarily thinking about that. But a lot of the story, a lot of the story Lalafell that you experience are Dunes folk because of Ul'dan Thanalin. Any reason why we can't get our hands on Yu Yu Hase or any of the Crystal Brave turncoats? What do you mean? Oh, AC, good to see you, glad to have you. And what do you mean any reason we can't get our hands on them? What do you mean in particular? They're all covered in butter. What? Who's all covered in butter? What? Pleasant and fun, like 2 cups of margarita and game of Jenga? Pleasant and fun, like 2 cups of margarita and a game of Jenga. With the right company? Yes, absolutely. I have a version of Jenga that I call, what is it? Jenga, the Wheel of Foreplay, where I have a Jenga tower that just has, basically like almost strip game related ideas and concepts on all the different blocks, depending on, so you pulling them out, different things happen. It's very fun with a group of people that you're obviously trust and have that kind of relationship with. I've seen some other anime. I find Lalafells are more comparable to some halfling races. I mean, the thing is that they're comparable to multiple different things. They're comparable to some goblin archetypes. They're comparable to some halfling archetypes. They're comparable to, like, they're in some ways their own thing that isn't really rooted in some other fantasy elements and tropes. The Braves, they slip right out. Yeah, but they eventually get caught. Like, if you play the MSQ, you know that all of them end up getting caught, including Yu Yu Hase. Like, that's addressed in the MSQ later on. I think the low voice on Lalafell is to hammer in the idea that they aren't actually children despite their looks. Well, it depends, because some of them don't have low voices. Like, a lot of the low voices are from the Japanese dub. But yeah, they just have regular adult voices most of the time. Because they are adults. Damn boy, where can I get one and play alone and cry? Oh. Totoro has high-pitched voice in Japanese as well. Yeah, and then, like, there's also, like, the differences between, like, JP and American and English that's, like, also, the reason that Yu Hase is a low voice archetype is because there's, like, multiple voice actor archetypes in Japan. And that's one of them. Hands is in, like, around their necks. I think we should have personal hands in dealing with them. I think that's a terrible idea. I think justice should be meted out to them devoid of, like, our, like, personal vindictive justice. And ultimately it is anyways. I do not want to kill them. No, I'd rather have them rot in the Marsucha pit or, like, have to try to atone or something. Like, I'm not interested in wrapping my hands around their necks. So why? Because that really textually wouldn't be super Warrior of Light-like. More so, kind of what the fate they get is ultimately more like, yeah. His voice acting in Japan is very standardized, not gonna lie. Yeah, I mean, it is here too, when it comes to, like, the anime industry. There's, like, very specific archetypical styles and voices and stuff. I think it's, like, that was very much brought over from Japan here, and so, like, anime as a genre has that in a way that makes me less of a fan of it. Because, well, to be fair, it's not even a criticism against it, because anime's ability to shorthand is stunning. Like, it's anime's ability to be like, okay, this character is this concept. The idea of the tsundere, right? It is useful. It's like commedia dell'arte, to be overly pretentious. The whole idea of, like, masks and visuals representing something so immediately that you don't need to explain a character. You fully understand everything that you fundamentally need to get them, right? I can appreciate that. I really don't like it in my narrative storytelling, but I can appreciate it because it makes this narrative stories feel consumptive rather than like individual. My thanks. Slowly, General. You are yet weak from your ordeal. Nevertheless, we must quit this place. I should have known what a clever contrivance to the Warrior of Light. Well done, hero. Ilberd. You mean to come to struggle on, then? Very well, if you would stand in my way, I will cut you down like all the rest. Come, scions, let us get this over with. Sloppy. These Sultana's assassins are here. Crystal Braves, drums! Actually, these Sultana's assassins are sloppy. I am no hero, never was, and never will be. Legless Laurentis. Why is he called Legless Laurentis if he doesn't... He has legs. My strength has left me. How do you get your empty slots to disappear like your action bar? I believe it's just an option. We can pull out the settings in a second to figure it out, unless someone else has already had it. That's why theoretically we don't let victims decide the sentence in real-world trials. Yeah. Because that's otherwise you just create vindication, vindictive justice rather than just. Well, I mean, you create vindictive responses and revenge rather than what is supposed to be justice, equal and blind. And that's not to say that the systems are always equal and blind, but. I also love that he's got a sword. He's sword and shield because when you think about the fact that sword and shield is supposed to be Sultana's sword. I'll tear you limb from limb. Oh, he's already got the voice too. I gotta start learning it. I've been practicing the videos that Ray sent me, but I'm not good at it yet. Dead men can't atone for their sins, neither do the victims. The person who did the harm gets off free by dying. Yeah. Yu Ha's JP voice reminds me of Tiny Kitsune from Tokiden, when the deepest man voice you have been heard. The disconnect is real. Yep. What's Ilbert's whole deal? I know he wanted to free Alamigo, but I'm still confused by his actions. So, here, I'll explain it in a second.
Changes nothing.
Nothing. This changes nothing. You're gonna hear me repeat it after him, so I can try to get the voice down.
Surrender yourself to justice.
Justice? Justice for what exactly?
Exactly.
'Twas not I who assassinated the Sultana, boy.
Ere we debate who is responsible for the assassination, I would ask whether an assassination took place at all.
What?
Clever little shite.
Clever little shite.
If you think you fight for justice, lad, you
It's
best
more than that,
wake
AC,
up.
but yes.
The truth is, you fight for whoever bloody well tells you to. Can you not see you're being used by the Scions, the city-states, even the Crystal Braves? They none of them care a whit what you want, only what you can do for them. And how do I know this? Because I'm the same. A pawn to be used as my masters see fit. All I ever wanted was to liberate my homeland, and I ate dirt to make it happen. But what have I achieved after all these years in servitude? Nothing. Not
This is what's up with Ilbert.
bloody thing.
And there's more to it than that as well.
If we ourselves are not free, free to think and to act, how are we ever to reclaim our homeland? Know this. There is nothing I would not give to take back Alamigo. Nothing!
That's the thing. And nobody else is fighting for Alamigo. Nobody's bothering. Nobody. Like, you have to remember, for Stormblood, Ilber's plan works. Ilber's plan is to force everybody else to have to fight for Alamigo, to try and liberate it.
Away.
Because all he wants is to liberate Alamigo. And so,
No, Master
everybody else is
Alphinaud.
so
Now is not the time.
And that in no way vindicates him. That is his goals.
I'm but a cripple and a fool. And still you came for me. And when
Oh,
you're dead,
that's good. Such good Raban voice.
We are all of us fools of fate, General. But even fools have a part to play.
It's a good idea, Jellybean. Okay, I'm gonna catch up on you guys real quick because you got some great conversation going on here. What was Ilber's little deal? Yeah, we were talking about that. Like, remember that, like, he's also frustrated because everybody else who was from Alamigo who left aren't trying to, like, fight back to reclaim it. And his homeland is lost, and nobody's trying to get it back. So some of his actions are also to be in a position where he has greater power to be able to go after Alamigo. Ilbert's incredibly internally consistent. He has one motive goal, and the problem is that he sees people's inaction around his motive goal and lack of drive towards that motive goal as a betrayal. I was about to say, to stock characters have always been interesting to me. Oh, Jubilant, thanks for the character config hotbar hide unassigned slots at Long Branch. That is how you do that. If you want to get better at the accents, Demins, can you message me that over on the Discord or something? Because I'll remember. Also, if it costs money, I don't think I can use it. I don't have any money in the budget right now. It almost feels like things like Sundere and stuff are just an extension of stock characters. I mean, they are. That's the point, though. That was my point. Is that it's not so much that there's stock characters as stock archetypes. And the thing is, like, shonen, bishonen. I mean, literally shonen, bishonen, like all of the genres of anime are built around like very fixed concepts and ideas being what they are representative of, with a threshold of character archetypes and representations, both visually and emotionally, and then within those like confines playing. I wonder if he's Emmet. Well, Emmet's, I mean, it's a little different, but it's not, I wouldn't really say those are quite the same, but to an I wouldn't say they're quite the same, not because like one's good or one's bad, but just like there's a nuance that I think is slightly different. But yes, there is this repeated idea of fighting for one's home and willing to do anything to save one's home. Yeah. Imagine if Ilber was around to Endwalker. Heck, even Stormblood. Yeah. You'll notice that the same justification was used for Gollum's crimes. Exactly, yeah. Raban was one of the most improved VAs, definitely. I think the narrative storytelling in 2.x better, if not 4.x better, in Heaven's Word compared to A Realm Reborn. Was 2 times better, if not 4 times better. Yeah. So the thing is, I would say that I would say that 2.x is way better than 2.0. But I think the other thing is that everything in this scene does not happen and does not work without A Realm Reborn. So the thing that I think is really easy to forget, and I will reiterate time and time again, that's not a justification to say that A Realm Reborn is super fun to play through, but is that Heaven's Word is allowed to sprint from the get-go because A Realm Reborn walked. Just the same, Stormblood's allowed to sprint because of A Realm Reborn and Heaven's Word setting up things with Alamigo and continuing that motive force. Shadowbringers is only allowed to be as fucking fire as it is because of all of the depth of character that has been preceding its story. And Endwalker only works as a climax as it does because of the prior expansions. So like a direct one-to-one comparison, I don't find particularly valuable or useful. But yeah, and also it depends on who you're saying. Are you talking about 2.0 or are you including 2.x? Because I think 2.x is not that far off from Heaven's Word. It really, in a lot of ways. I think the thing is, if 2.x had as much voice acting as Heaven's Word did too, that would put it even further up. Any chance I'll ever receive Raban a prosthetic arm? I remember the first time that when I found out Raban lost his arm, I was like, well, he's definitely going to get a prosthetic or a mechanical one at some point, right? At this point, I don't know if it ever happens, because I don't know what plot there is to drive the necessity of it. That said, with the amount of Allegan stuff still out there, with the evolution of technology in the world, could it absolutely happen? Abso-fucking-lutely. The Dialect Archive I mentioned is free. I'll shoot you a link on Discord. Thanks, Demins. Much appreciated. Ooh, what's better? We stand with you. This is probably better to get him back in the fight.
Rest assured, I was not planning to die till I'd avenged the Sultana. Still, your words are welcome, lad.
I'll explain in a second, Long Branch. No worries.
Know this, Ilbert. There is nothing I would not give to see you pay for what you've done. My wealth.
I don't think he's too proud to
my
get a
arm,
prosthetic.
My life. Nothing.
General.
Oh, I can help with this.
Are you aware that Lord Lolorito has yet to announce the Sultana's death to the public?
So two, T-O-O with two, think of as well or excessively. So something is too much, T-O-O. Or that as well, that too, T-O-O. So as well or excessively. Those are the two like main ways to try and remember it. That's how I got to a place where I could remember the difference. So for what you said, Raban seems T-O-O proud to get a prosthetic arm, though, doesn't he? Hope that helps. Yes. Yep. Too proud. Yep. Exactly. Exactly. A bull with a single remaining horn is still dangerous. I mean, as we see, even in combat, he's a fucking monster. Still.
What? No.
Oh, fuck.
No, I was not aware of that, nor of anything else outside my cell. 'Tis passing strange, though. I assumed the bastard would make it known at the first opportunity, and set about tearing down the Sultanate.
Dude, the Mancunian
As
accent
did
is so
we all.
perfect for the Alamegans, in my
And it is
opinion.
indeed strange that he did not. Strange, or perhaps revealing. Now, I have no conclusive proof, nor do I wish to give you false hope, but I have reason to believe that Her Grace may yet live.
What? But how can that be?
Forgive me, friends, but it is not safe here. Let us continue this conversation without...
Actually, is that double last T-O-O correct? The one last seems wrong. So let's actually, this is worthy of pointing out. I guess I've talked about this a lot without actually ever explaining it. MSQ, Final Fantasy 14. So in Final Fantasy 14, there are expansions and then there are the patch content. The patch content, as of so far, has always been basically patch 0.1 to patch 0.5, and 0.5 is technically split into 0.5 and 0.55, but that's not important in terms of MSQ narrative content. Let's display capture. So, A Realm Reborn starts in the 7th Umbral Era quests. So, and also so there's the 7th Umbral Era quest, which is 2.0. That's A Realm Reborn. Then there is 2.1, 2.2, 2.3, 2.4, and 2.5. And that's the 7th Astral Era quests. And those are basically, once you defeat Gaius at Praetorium and stuff, that's the end of 2.0, and then 2.1 begins. And that's what people are referring to by as 2.x. It's the patch content. Some people call it the interstitials, some people call it the bridge. Technically, it is a part of A Realm Reborn, but often you'll hear people refer to Heavensward, and what they're referring to is 3.0. Or you'll hear people referring to Shadows Bringers, and what they're referring to is 5.0. They're not necessarily referring to the bridge or the patch content. Some people are, though, so you need to specify. So, for instance, if I'm talking about 5.3, I'm not just going to say Shadow Bringers. I'm going to be like 5.x. Whereas if I'm talking about 5.0, Shadowbringers expansion proper, I will do that. Also, for most of the expansions, the 0.1 to 0.3 is an epilogue of the prior expansion, and the 0.4 and 0.5 is a setup for the next expansion. Now, there's a little more wibbly-wobbly than that, but A Realm Reborn, for instance, 0.1 through 0.3 is focusing on primals, whereas 0.4 and 0.5 is much more focusing on the setup going into Heavensward. In Heavensward, 0.1 to 0.3 is the Dragonsong War. 0.4 through 0.5 is the setup for going into... Well, 0.4 and 0.5 is the setup both for Stormblood and partially the setup for going into Shadowbringers later. Same with Stormblood, where you have 4.0 is its story, and then 0.1 through 0.3 is the Tsukuyomi stuff, basically. And it is the epilogue of that. And then 0.4 and 0.5 is setting up for Shadowbringers. And so why that's important is that in some cases, the patch content may be written way better or way worse, not way worse, but or is less good or greater than others. So, like, for one thing, a lot of times when people say they think Heavensward amazing, usually what they're forgetting is that they're including point 1 and point 3, the patch content, as part of the story of Heavensward, rather than just Heavensward alone. Because without the Dragonsong War, you don't have as much of a climactic finale for Heavensward. You know, so you can also always think of it as, you know, a Realm Reborn, post a Realm Reborn, or content, Heavensward, post Heavensward, Stormblood, post Stormblood, Shadowbringers, post Shadowbringers, and it goes on and on and on. The way they're listed here is they originally used to do names. So they had 7th Umbral Era quests, so that's 2.0. 7th Astral Era, 2.x, Heavensward, 3.0, post Heavensward, which is split into 2 groups, but post Heavensward, which is 3.x, Stormblood, 4.0, post Stormblood, 4.x, Shadowbringers, 5.0, post Shadowbringers, 5.x, on and on and on. So, why that matters is I think 2.x is written much, much, much better than 2.0, which is also understandable when you think about the time crunch under which 2.0 was made. Remember, Heavensward and A Realm Reborn were written by the same person. It wasn't just that they got way better; they would just also had the room and time to create a much better narrative. Also, having a lot of characters already pre-set up that they had the time to like build up ahead of schedule. And why that also matters is because you could argue that, I don't know, maybe you don't think that 5.x is written as well as something else, or yada yada. But like Heavensward, if you include the Dragonsong War, I have a much higher opinion of Heavensward than if you don't. I think, you know, for example. Game capture. Let's get chat back up. I remember thinking it was a bit of a cop-out how they saved Nanamo, but in retrospect, I'm glad they did. Chris, when I first played this, I was really frustrated that they didn't commit it. I remember the first time I played it. Heavensward, I was like, really? You're gonna, like, you actually committed to doing something like that crazy, and you're not gonna stick with it? I am now, as a player, so glad they did. And it's not because, like, oh, I love Nanamo or something. It's because the use to which they put Nanamo is absolutely worth having done what they're doing here. The ultimate use and the narrative around how they used her is, to my no question. Yeah. Would you consider adding Ilberd into Stormblood Ultimate? Yeah, absolutely. I don't know how you don't, to some extent, in some way. I think absolutely Ilberd Stormblood Ultimate would be 100%. 6.1 is technically the end of Endwalker. No, so 6.0 is technically the end of Endwalker. I think, and then the rest onwards is leading up to 7.0. So 6.0 ends Endwalker, and then 6.1 to... Yoshi P's been a little vague about it. Yoshi P's kind of been implied in the most recent Famitsu article that 6.1 to 6.3 or 4 might be like, it's more set up for other future stuff, but it's contained story, and then like we won't really see what the 7.0 lead up is until way late. 6.x is going to be weird. So prepare for 6.x to be weird because Endwalker ended the Hydaelyn Zodiac story. While also cleaning up the story and threads from 2.0 to 6.0. Same with Shadowbringer. I always think it ends at 5.3. Yeah, so remember, point 1 to point 3 is an epilogue of the narrative. That's true for Shadowbringers. It's true for the Dragonsong War. It's true for the Moonlight stuff of Stormblood. So that's also why it always feels so synced up to that and why it feels so important. But like, it's worth remembering that judging an expansion based on whether or not you're including its patch content or not is worth remembering. Do you like what we do? Consider showing your support and sign up for our Patreon over here at patreon.com/Eorzean Archives. Thank you. I haven't played Stormblood yet. I've been trying to complete the extremes first. Yeah. I think honestly Heavensward is one of my favorite in terms of story, but the gameplay and the story quest is not that much better than ARR. Yeah, I think it's not that much better. I think it is better, and I think that the advancements they're adding to ARR now are very helpful. In terms of story, it depends on the day. It also, here's the thing: if you include the Dragonsong War, the point 1 to point 3, as part of Heavensward, then Heavensward is definitely for me, ranked would be around the 3rd rank. Now the thing is, I like Stormblood way more than I think a lot of other people do, and I think it's unfairly lambasted for reasons that I think for some people I super respect and agree with, and from others I'm like, what? But Yeah, like, to me, like, Heaven's Word doesn't particularly come even close to Shadowbringers or Endwalker. I mean, it comes close. I say it doesn't come close. It's close. It's not like, oh, they might be close to equal. But that's also because Shadowbringers and Endwalker only get to exist and work the way they do because Heaven's Word happened. And, like, that's the important thing there. Are we still on Curl? Yes, we are on Crystal Curl. I want to try randomly queue in any story dungeons. Yeah, absolutely. You can also just, join me for... Well... No, because we're trying to do support, but we might not have duty support for some of the dungeons before we get to them. But yep, generally the title of the expansions have multiple meanings. What would you consider the meaning of many meanings of Endwalker Heaven's Word? Can't do the many meanings of Endwalker. It also depends, are we talking about the Japanese terms as well? But AC, I do want to talk about this, but I will continue in the story. I like post content for Stormblood, but I didn't like the 5.0 that much. I don't know what to tell you. I think 5.0 might be one of the best MMO stories ever written, if not one of the better video game stories written. So, if you didn't like it that much, then, I mean, I'm glad you have Heaven's Word that you do like. The general is safe. What news without? My lady, the guards have been subdued as per your commands. We have since kept watch over the entrance. There has been no further activity. Then Ilbert and his minions have fled via some other egress, scoured the perimeter for signs of their passing. At once, my lady. Oh, yeah. General Aldine, I presumed, and the Scions of the Seventh Dawn. Stormblood, yeah, I follow. Who are you? Identify yourself. Pray, do not be alarmed. My mistress is a friend, and I come bearing a message of goodwill. For your own safety, she bade me direct you to steps to the Waking Sands. Know that Master Eorzean awaits you there, and along with others sympathetic to your cause. I'm really excited to replay Stormblood and either have to eat my words or finally be able to convey to people exactly why I think Stormblood is stronger than I think some people give it credit for. There is no ruse, I assure you. General Aldine, if you will, come with me. I have prepared a carriage that you may travel in comfort, safe for prying eyes. The thing is that Stormblood is a war story, and it bothers taking the time to make sure that it tells you the plight and existences and experiences of the people and give a context for that, and also not to bullshit you with a, why don't they just rise up narrative? And so the thing is, what Ishgard can get away with by putting a bunch of development for Ishgard away in side quests and not bothering to explain it in the MSQ, other than like its original sin, Stormblood is trying to have a more nuanced story, and because of that has to do more to make people feel like, not just characters, but broadly populations feel like people and matter. So I understand why some people feel like it's slow in certain spots, but to me, I somewhat laud it for that in terms of making it feel like there's a weight to this war story and that there's a span of time that it takes, that it's not just us, prepare, like all of us building up our troops and going to fight the ultimate bad guy, and there we go, and it's the fight for El Amigo, and like it's more nuanced and complicated and gray, and it builds a much more defined and intricate world around both Al Amigo and Othard broadly, which then is something that's used to great benefit. Because remember, you only have two cultures that you have to explain in Heaven's Word. You only need to explain Ishgard, and you only need to explain the Dravanians. The Dravanians, they don't even explain that much in terms of culture. We get bits and pieces, but we don't get a ton of. And Ishgard, a lot of Ishgardian information is relegated to side quest. Whereas Stormblood actually has to do the due diligence of explaining the steppe, of explaining the Ruby Sea, of explaining Hingashi, of explaining Dolma and Yanxia, of explaining Al Amigo, but not only just the Al Amigans in a broad sense, but the Al Amigans that fled Al Amigo as well as the Al Amigans that stayed. And of the Al Amigans that stayed, those that have existed within the occupancy in Al Amigo proper versus those who have been existing from without. Also, Hien's plight to me is in some ways just as, if not more interesting than Amuric, because Amuric is functioning within a system, but has always had power, and he is noble and wonderful and good, but also he is a... Hien is interesting because you have to remember he was born into a world never knowing a free Doma, and yet is committed to its ideals, and it has a lot of weight on his back. Both of them have a lot of weight on their back, and in very interesting ways. I still like Stormblood, honestly, even if it's the weaker moments, but we all agree if some of the complaints made the expansion are valid because it does need a bit more weight to the story. I find the patch story of Stormblood to be like kabuki theater play, the way how it's structured with different parts of tragedy, symbolism, etc., and due to aesthetics, it works. He and I mixed on liking as a character mostly because he ends up doing some of the same things his ancestors did. In what regard? I'm not sure what you mean, Astriel, but I worry I may have missed something. I'm not sure I know what you mean in particular. I'm sorry, but all expansions are slow in spots. Yeah, think the trolley stuff in Shadowbringers or rounding up people to speak to Loporrits and Endwalker. Yeah, and we were just talking about Endtalkers. The like Loporrit stuff, for instance, you need an expansion and contraction of the narrative. I won't go too much into that. The trolley stuff, you need that quiet moment before what's about to happen. You need that quiet moment with a certain blonde-haired character, with Eorzean, with Thancred making the choices he makes in that scene. Like, that's the thing, is like there are slow moments, but those moments are put to extreme effects to make the like powerful moments pay off. I like Stormblood because it deals with colonization, the effects of imperialism in its very nuanced, realistic way. It's the first time that you really get a meaningful portrayal of the Garleans, like beyond mustache-twirling villains. Not that they aren't villains, but that they are interesting in their nuance. Hien is definitely one of my favorite characters, such a great leader. I think honestly the most interesting version of Hien in terms of talking about Hien and Aymeric is comparing them not in like who's better, but just like in the beautiful, lovely contrast between them and like the things that they share. I love Hien's comedic timing. He says certainly things that came off funny, and he's very confident while also self-doubting, but he doesn't let anyone know about that self-doubting. Deadpool, you want to come to the stream? Who doesn't like a ride on the trolley? Well, it's not the ride on the trolley, it's the build-up to having to do the trolley. One of the issues was keeping pleasure houses open despite its abuse that leads to one characters in Stormblood to head in the direction they did. So, first off, when that happened, Hien would have been like 12 years old. Remember, Hien's 25 at the events of Stormblood. But also, there's a different, like, the thing is that there's a different East versus West thing here going on, where what happened to that one character was problematic, but also, like, sex industry in the East is a thing that is, like, depending on your culture, and depending on the time period, is just seen as an occupation. It's not like it doesn't have the same connotation in here. So like the problems that happened around that character are specific to that character and the actions of someone else being taken from him. But at the period of time that happened, Hien wouldn't have been in control, and also would have been like somewhere between 10 and 15. Because he's again 25 at the time of Stormblood. Deadpool, come here. He's as old as Garlemald's occupation of Doma, right? So he's never known a free Doma. The other thing I think people misunderstand is that Hien comes from a background where you don't rush to judgment immediately, and where he's by avoiding being overly harsh in his aspersions, he's being a proper leader. It's not that he doesn't disagree, it's not that he doesn't have distaste or dislike. You will see that multiple times throughout the story, and multiple times throughout the 4.x stories as well, that he refrains from voicing the sheer depth of disgust, disdain, or negative feeling he has for something. And that is not to say it's not present, it's just that there's a level of stoicism that is expected of his seat and station. And I say that because I've rewatched that scene multiple times after hearing some people have criticism about it, and I think that there are a lot of points that are being grossly missed in that scene about it's not just Hien being like, yeah, sexual slavery is fine. Because if it was, fuck Hien. If it was, absolutely fuck Hien. And I would not be qualifying that. But that's not what's going on in that scene.
I have spoken with Eorzean via League Pearl. He confirms the man's story. Rauban is in safe hands. Let us make our own way to Vesper Bay.
No, and Astriel, there are plenty of people I think who might even still disagree with me on that, even if I walk point by point through it. So that's... I wouldn't even just say like, oh, you might have misread something. I think like there's a nuance there that's also important to understand about East versus West perspective, not in terms of what's okay and allowed, but just about how we respond to things, right? Young Hien shouldn't have done anything. It's more than current Hien I have issues with. So wait, but what else other than that is... But what did current Hien do wrong? That's what I'm not sure I understand. Hien is pretty witty, even comment. Yeah, Hien is of like I have to say, like, don't get me wrong, I love Americ, and he has a very sly and, like, dry sense of humor, but Hien's wit is just fire. The thing is that Hien is almost more compassionate in some ways sometimes than Americ, because Americ, I mean, they suffer from the same things of having to, their duty of office puts them in situations where they have to weigh between the level to which they want to be profoundly, openly compassionate and empathetic versus their inability to show it completely. Not because they are incapable of communicating as individuals, but because of their office.
My dearest friends, praise be unto the 12 for delivering you from the clutches of treachery.
So those houses had existed for centuries, Astriel. That was a long-standing Doman thing. And then the harm that they've caused, other than we don't get a perspective of the harm that they've caused other to than from that one specific person. Whereas to others, it can be classified as an occupation of choice rather than, and the reason that that person was in that situation was not because of the entire industry is like that. It's also because of what her parents did. It's not a bad, like, okay, here's the thing, guys. Sex work is real work. Like, that's, so that doesn't mean that, like, abuse or anything, that does not mean that abuse, taking advantage of people or, you know, is okay, or, but, like, having brothels is not inherently a bad thing. It's an inherently bad thing if it creates a power dynamic in which the women do not have control over their lives and their resources and their income stuff. But, like, it's not, like, people, like, sexuality is fine. Sex is fine. Oh no, I do sex work. Well, there you go. Yeah. Hot take: Urianger has always been my fave scion for our ARR and Heavensward. I hope he gets more in Stormblood. Yeah, he Long Branch. Let's just say Urianger is gonna have his time. My dearest friends. Oh, actually, there's...
Father!
Urianger's good new voice is here.
Pippin, my son, and Master Papashan besides.
Forgive me, Father. I should have been at Her Grace's side.
Save your tears. The Sultana yet lives.
I think the role quest would support you, Chris, and many other explicit texts.
This gathering.
Dulala.
And judging by
Doodle
your
la la
perplexed
la.
expressions, it would seem introductions are in order.
Nah, I know who you are.
Dulala, head
A giant
of
cunt.
the Order of Noldthor, and member of the Syndicate.
Ah, yes, it's always good when the church is on the
Is she
monopolies
alive?
border.
Young man, I understand you were with the Sultana when she drank from the poisoned goblet and collapsed. Would I be correct in assuming that you did not personally verify Her Grace's vital signs?
Why ask when 'tis plain you know the answer?
Calm yourself, General, and let me finish. The truth is not as you imagine it. You are all victims of a most ingenious ruse. A ruse conceived to eliminate the threat posed by Teleji Adeleji.
I would like to take a moment to say in response to that too, though, like, remember that one of the reasons that antagonist is as good of an antagonist as they are, is because of point 1 through point 3. Not that they aren't a good antagonist, not that they're a bit two-dimensional to a degree in 4.0, but the reason that antagonist is good as they are is 4.1 to 4.3, and that's why it's super imperative that you make clear when you're talking about patch content versus not, because they can often add so much depth.
That Teleji plotted the Sultana's assassination alone, but that Lolorito caught wind of his plot and exploited it to his own ends. He sought to manipulate you into eliminating Teleji for him, and you duly obliged. At one fell swoop, he removed his two foremost rivals, all the while remaining above suspicion.
God strike me down for a fool. But the Sultana, how can it be that she lives?
She lives because Lolorito willed it. Her own lady-in-waiting is but one of his many little birds. By her sleight of hand, the poison was switched for a less deadly draught before it could reach her mistress's lips.
And thankfully, she's a Dunes folk, and because she's a Dunes folk, she gets fed poison as a child.
Some manner of sedative, perchance.
Basically.
Of a potency sufficient to induce a slumber like unto death.
Basically, AC. You know
Were
the,
I to guess,
Here, I'll explain after.
I would say her grace is being held somewhere, dreaming dreams of a brighter Uldar, even as we speak.
Oh,
They're monks.
Nanamo.
I will never forgive Lolorito for his part in this.
Though Lolorito's hands are far from clean, they did pluck her grace from the jaws of death. That must count for something. And though one may call the man's methods into question, it cannot be denied that he knows the value of stability, to the very gill, like as not. He craves power, 'tis true, but he has no desire to depose the Sultana.
It's true.
I have
System's
never
stable.
taken sides in your feud with the monetarists, but it was not for want of concern for our nation's welfare. Indeed, 'twas out of the desire to see order restored that I furnished your Far Eastern friends with information and arranged this gathering.
That's my problem with
I hope
Dulalaj.
you are ready to work, General, for there is much work to be done. Our first priority must be to bring matters back into balance. Lest you forget Her Grace's words, the true wealth of Uldar lies in the health, happiness, and hopes of her people. As for the more worldly kind of wealth, I am content to let Lolorito help himself to whatever Teleji Adeleji left behind.
Remember that the unrest was being
meanwhile,
fomented.
must do that which you alone can do. Rescue Her Grace and take your place at her side once more, for her sake and that of our nation.
Remember, the unrest was being fomented by some of the modern, like Teleji Adeleji. So like without him like pushing for it to be as extreme, it died down quite a bit. And on top of that, you know, with all the news of what happened to Sultan and stuff, like a lot of reasons why it died out. I doubt Nalthal would approve of the monetarists. I mean, as the traitor, I don't know. Nalthal might totally approve of the monetarists, seeing as literally they're doing what he does. Also, literally, Dulala is a prioress of the Order of Nalthal. She, like, runs the church. Like, you know, the, like, if you, like, where you become a thaumaturge, the Arzeneth ossuary, that's, like, that's, like, where you find the statue of Nalthal. Or, you know, there's the other part of it, which is, where is it? The Milivant Sacrum. So that's why she's the prioress. She leads the church, effectively. What on the bridge now, eh? Yeah, right. Dulala hat makes her look like a gnome. Yeah. Female monks still called monks, or are they nuns? They're called monks. According to the definition of prioress, yeah, we covered that. Yep, I think we're good. Oh, what are all those fountains with the 3 crystals for? One of them is by the Blue Mage stuff. Well, we'll head over there in a second. I'll see what you're talking about.
I had not counted on the prioress Dulala herself appearing in my defense. My suspicions regarding the Sultana provided more prescient. Much remains to be done, but in rescuing Raban, we have taken a vital first step towards resolving matters in Uldar. We couldn't have done it without you, Elio. Thank you.
Jailbreak. I found it out. I'm now visiting Crystal Curl. Sweet.
Tataru? Yes, General Raban is now in safe hands. What? Another assault? Very well, we shall return at once. Pray, notify the Count of our coming. It would seem we have faced another crisis. The Dravanians are preparing to resume the siege of the Holy See. Though I'm loath to abandon Sultana to her fate, we lack the necessary evidence to act upon Dulala's claim. That being the case, I propose we leave Marshal Tarupin and the others to investigate, and return with all haste to Ishgard.
I spell it wrong. I do the O before the E all the time.
Scooby-Doo, Scooby-Doo.
I think the crystals you're probably talking about are probably just water crystals, and they're just providing water. I suspect that's the case, but I'd have to go look.
Oh no, interesting. Divinity is the color of gold. Interesting.
Those I don't think that those are actually crystals. I think that those are just edifices. Because if you look at them, their texture and stuff is, I think it's just stone. I think it's just stonework. Yeah, those are just accents, I believe. If you like faster queue times, I can play Ast. Well, so the thing is, Long Branch is mostly we've been doing duty support. However, if we don't, like, we'll worry about that when we get to a point where there is a dungeon. I don't know that we actually have one particularly soon, unless I'm forgetting something. Because we don't have our first one until I believe, and we still have a trial before that. The other thing is that if I'm gonna do a dungeon where people are trial with people, I'd rather do it with a full stack of players that are team members, because I don't want people to be on stream who don't necessarily want to be on stream. And yes, I know there's like obviously overworld people, but that kind of can't be helped. Whoa, can you expand your map? What do you mean? Like that? Is that what you mean, Big Boss? I'm not sure what you mean. Do you mean like you can grab the corner, make it as big as you want, just make it huge. Yeah, I'm saying you can. I didn't know. Right, and I'm just saying, I'm just trying to make sure what part of it you didn't know, because there were multiple aspects that saying you can expand your map. Like, did you mean literally the box for it? Did you mean the fact that you can click the arrow up here? I wasn't sure. Canonically, does the Warrior Flight open a book parchment for looking at their map, or is it like in their head? Because of it looking like this, and because we see elsewhere with the I guess you don't unlock until 6.0, but I would suspect it's canonical. It is a piece of it is like a map that you're pulling out and looking at. Because we see that with other menus, with other things like achievements and stuff that they actually achievements. Because they made achievements to look like it's a bunch of us collecting all the things that we've done, right? So I would treat it as, you could argue, very much argue it's canonical. Fasty, good to see you, glad to have you. There's also one by the Adventurers Guild. Well, I'll go check that after, Astriel. But I think that because they don't look like, even crystals devoid of crystalline energy wouldn't necessarily look like that. And the fact that they're in water, a water fixture like that, I think they're just an edifice to change the pooling of the water. The Warrior Flight pulls out their smartphone. I mean, Tombstone, obviously. Yeah, that's also not to really be treated as canonical too. Oh, there you are. Sorry for cutting the reunion with General Raoban short. It wouldn't have bothered you, but the city's awash with rumors of another Dravanian attack, and Lord Horsefant was desperate to get a hold of you. Speaking of whom, he and the others are waiting for you inside, so we better head in. Thank you, Tethys. We've opened a merch store. You can find it at rebel.com. I thought they had been crystals this whole time. Yeah, the thing is that even unaspected crystals or like crystals that have been denatured don't look quite like that, don't have that texture, so that's what makes me unsure. I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure. I feel so stupid for not knowing you could do that with the map. I have like 24 hours. There's always something new to learn. I suspect that Alligans did use tombstones as smartphones in their day. I suspect they didn't, because there's multiple things that suggest that they communicated with each other in a different way. Tombstones are explicitly in the canon told to us to effectively be data storage devices, not tool, like
tools in and of themselves. That's like what they stored information in. They're flash drives. So, tomestones are flash drives. Actually, Tethys or Ray, if one of you want to link like what are tomestones, that like they are. The phone thing is more just like for the emote of it. There's no indication that they were able to contact each other via, and it wouldn't explain necessarily how they, without some sort of ethereal towers or relay system, how they would have even been able to do that. And the fact that we get like a bunch of information about how they do cross contact in like As's Law and stuff. The more you know. Ba-da-da. I'm learning stuff like that all the time, so I completely understand. Yeah. I'll catch the rest of this in the morning, but I have to go to bed. Well, have a great night, Tracy. Thanks for joining in. Oh, so for us looking through a tombstone, it isn't us through a phone. We're looking through a picture. Okay, when you look at a tombstone in the emote, treat that like the same level of canon as when you look at a holiday event. My point is that that the emote isn't a good indicator of what tombstones actually are or what they do or how they function or anything that we've ever seen anywhere else. And I think they just wanted to have a like smartphone emote with a tombstone backing. Like I don't think it's supposed to be treated as a like a smartphone thing. You could potentially wonder if like tombstones on one end have the ability to like. The thing is, you can't even look at the data that's on the tombstone because you need a machine to be able to analyze and decrypt the data on the tombstone as well. Like that's another thing. So unless like this is like a very unique prototype tombstone that allowed you to look at the data that was on it or something. Yeah, I don't know what that. I think it's just supposed to be a fun thing that players can use. If they wanted to, I think Garlemald could reverse engineer some tech to create communication devices for public use like a phone. Sid did it with Regalia. Well, so kind of, but remember that like, could a version of a link pearl be converted into an ethereal network that would allow you to use phone-like devices? Yes, but I don't think that would be I don't think that they're going to be reverse engineering the Allegan technology in that way, and also they'd have to be able to miniaturize it and power it. Like I don't think it's impossible that we'd ever see it, but like effectively that's already what link pearls do and are. How canon is the Mog Station drip? How canon is the Mog Station drip? I mean, how canon is any drip really? It depends on which drip, like. And then it also is like mostly a don't worry about it if it's not contradicting anything. The problem with the tombstone thing is it does kind of contradict what tombstones are, what they're supposed to be in canon, and like how they function. So the tombstone one is more like if it's not a problem and it doesn't contradict something, don't worry about it until it contradicts something. With the holiday events are a problem because of timey-wimey bullshit and all sorts of other stuff. Thank you, Tethys.
My friend, I thank you for answering our call with such alacrity, as I am sure you are aware the Dravanians are once more gathering for war. Master Forgeron, Master Levieur, I must apologize for this abrupt summons, but we thought it best to have Mistress Tataru contact you by most direct means available. When the observatorium bells toll, 'tis a warning that cannot be ignored. The Holy See has ordered that we make ready for battle. In any case, you haven't heard a band of trappers returning from the west claim. They saw a cloud of dragons big enough to dim the midday sky. Nidhogg's minions gather once more for war. But I would not have you take up arms in another of our conflicts. When first you came to Ishgard, I offered you my protection. If I cannot ensure your safety here, I cannot well accept your aid, much less ask for it. Scions of the Seventh Dawn, you are faced with a choice, to remain in a besieged Ishgard or seek sanctuary elsewhere. I would not presume to influence your decision, but I must ask that you make it swiftly, lest our enemies force your hand.
I don't think that's how it works, Dig Boss. Because under that auspice, that's like saying it's canon that the Warrior of Light is an Eorzean, and technically speaking, the canon, it would be the Warrior of Light is here. You know, it's like saying that like the canon is that you play through Shadowbringers as a Dark Knight, but it doesn't mean everyone did. No, you're not. Unless you're literally playing as Meteor. Yeah, probably they won't. Besides, mobile devices are highly addictive. People will never look back. Well, it's not even just addictive. It's a problem of like if everyone has easy and ready access to mobile communication devices, you also can cut a lot of conflict short. Like the invention of the phone has been a major problem for narrative writers for a long time. I like to picture the modern clothes come from Charlie as an experiment drone for clothing, much like the other one did for Good of Food. I mean, it could be. The other thing that's worth remembering is like there are some modern clothes that come out of like Baja and Zadnor and stuff. there's a bunch of situations in which like the modern clothing come out of different places for a bunch of different reasons. Like they're close enough. It's basically a don't worry about it. I like to insert myself into the overall story, become immersed, so my drip is 100% canon. No, guys, your drip is 100% head canon. That doesn't mean it's canon. Doesn't mean that it's not valuable or to take away from it. But right now, Elio is my headcanon for the Warrior of Light, but he isn't the Warrior of Light. He isn't the canonical Warrior of Light. Like that. Like if you're talking about what the canon is, you don't have to go by canon to worry about it. Like it's not something you need to care about or worry about to have fun. But it is like the case. Imagine though if there's like a special dialogue option if you're wearing a Scion's attire in front of them. Yeah, that would be weird. We sort of have somebody who could work to explain all that clothing stuff as being business venture into new fashion. Yeah. Where did you get that? Don't worry about it. Whoa, 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 whoa. What? Wait, Tethys, why are we banning people? Or why are we banning messages? What's going on here? Glamour prisms would be a great way to look like you're getting dressed if you want to be lazy and stay dressed in your pajamas. I mean, maybe I'm in my pajamas. You don't know. Let's just try not to be, like, trolly about stuff. Like, so the thing is right, like, your personal perspective on your character or something, that doesn't make it canon. And I'm also, like, it's worth being a little hardcore about that because it's worth really drawing a delineation line between canon and headcanon because, like, headcanon issues are how you get people saying weird shit about Dusk Whites or saying, weird shit about how Mikote are from Mericidia, or because my version of the Warrior of Light is actually just like a different race in disguise or blah, blah, blah. You then start applying things to broader trends. There's a canonical reason for the Dragoon pose. What do you mean a canonical reason for the Dragoon pose? Though we flee this to the ends of the world, it would seem that no place in this troubled age is free of strife. Once more the horde descends upon Ishgard, and once more your warily defenders must take up spear and bow. The Count would have us seek shelter from the storm, but I for one grow tired of running. If we are to shine the light of dawn, we must do so in the sight of our fellow man, not hunkered in a hole. What say you, Elio? I would stay and fight. The fight we shall. Let never be said that we abandon our allies in their hour of need. Canon is that Eorzean in the trailer in the Warrior of Light that would be used to the other game. So, like, for instance, if you've watched any of our videos, whenever it's not Elio speaking, whenever it's, like, videos of gameplay and stuff, that Hyur is the canonic character. Yeah. Right, but you're saying, like, was there a canonical reason? It's like, no, that's just their pose. I mean, like, there's not everything has a canonical reason. It's just sometimes, like, because it's a cool look that is something that they do. And that is, like, the reason. So, unless you're, like... There's no in-universe reason for it particularly other than being a ready stance, I suppose. Like it's a good ready stance for them being able to prepare to jump or stab. The choice we make this day may have grave implications for our order. It is only right that Tataru should have a say. Come, let us meet outside and discuss the path that lies before us.
Ishgard cannot well endure another assault. Even should her knights succeed in turning back the horde, the casualties will be catastrophic.
But what other choice do we have? It's not like we can talk it over with them. Dragons and men aren't exactly on speaking terms.
You could rationalize it that way, Astriel. I mean, like, honestly, the truth is really just, like, it's a reference to prior Final Fantasies. That's it. But yeah, that you could come up with that idea.
Notable exceptions.
Yeah, we about to befriend the ice.
You don't mean Iceheart?
When last you spoke with her, she lamented her crimes, did she not? Then there remains a sliver of hope. If we can persuade Iceheart to act as our intermediary, we may yet be able to convince Nidhogg to abandon his bloody course.
Good luck with that.
If there is to be a meeting...
Hey, the boy!
Estinian.
It's the boy.
Even with your intermediary, Nidhogg's blood rage may render him deaf to reason. However, the mere attempt may afford our forces precious time to prepare. Of course,
Could be Astriel.
you might also consider a more direct approach to ending this conflict. With the power of the Eye at my disposal, and the vaunted strength of the Warrior of Light, we could conceivably slay the beast outright.
If we are to risk a face-to-face meeting with the Dread Worm, I for one would feel safer in the company of the Azure Dragoon. However, I should only turn to your lance if my words failed to find their mark. Is that clear?
Perfectly. I shall assume that Isart enjoys similar diplomatic protection until instructed otherwise. A word of advice. Think carefully before divulging the particulars of this plan to Sir Emmerich. 'Twould not do to have the Lord Commander accused of consorting with heretics.
Indeed. I thank you for your counsel, Estinian. We shall be honored to have you with us.
I am glad to be of service.
Yeah, I guess the thing I'd point though is, as Astriel, there's a difference between their pose, like their idle poses, where the question was rooted, rather than the dance moves, right? Like that's the thing is like, yeah, like I mean the different hand sides, the mudra of ninja have powers, right? But that's different than what their idle poses with their weapon. We having chosen a difficult road, yet even should we succeed in winning Icehearts to our cause, our plans for parley will swiftly come to naught should the Holy See decide to strike against the Horde. We must petition the Lord Commander's aid ere we set forth. I only hope that Sir Aymeric will be willing to muzzle Ishgard's forces on the strength of our vague assurances. Tataru, I would ask that you remain at Fort Tom's Manor, and inform the Count of our decision. Tell him that the Scions of the Seventh Dawn mean to do all in their power to ensure the Ishgard and her people survive. Yes, sir. Yeah, like certain movements can have power. Like the dancer moves, or like the ninja. What's another? Is there another good example? Monk poses can allow for the opening of chakras. Nope. Cloud's movements in 7 Remake were based on a ballet dancer, apparently. Interesting. Did I ever mention I actually put Estinian in my D&D campaign? Accidentally. I just remember randomly when he appeared in the cutscene. I don't know how you do that accidentally. Well, what a gloomy sight! Keep forgetting I can't fly. You want what from this camp? Heartier meals. Oh, this is the side quest. Well, heartier meals? Don't tell me Gideon sent you, didn't he? It's no small feat having supplies shipped here. You know, even the wealthiest nobles would be hard-pressed to afford constant deliveries of fresh foods to a place such as this. It simply cannot be done. If he's so dissatisfied with our provisions, he should forage and cook for himself. A number of our men are already doing just that. He always was one to overindulge in his eating, and I fear hunger is clouding his judgment, but he's mistaken if he thinks I can freely request shipment of goods as I please. Might I ask you a favor? Cloudtop is known for a nutritious and surprisingly filling variety of mushrooms. I'd like you to find one that gives it and give it to Gideon for me. Perhaps then he'll find a way to sate his appetite on his own and leave me be. I kind of made a brooding elf with a spear and a snowball from there. Did I like just click on the wrong thing? Yeah, I guess I just clicked on the wrong thing. Oh well, it works. This is a plausible explanation, but I think the Dragoon pose is possibly good for surveying on a high perch. I like keeping an eye and ear out for trouble and then jump into action. You don't mean this one, right? Because your legs are spread wide. This would be bad for a high perch, unless I guess you're saying like a long, wide out high perch. In that which case, like if you're talking about the guard duty stance, like that, yeah, the like Kane Highwind one, then yeah, that's easy to stand from a high perch and observe. And also you're holding your spear at your side low, which means you're not having to spend muscle and energy keeping it high and at the guard, and so you're even letting the heavy point lean down. So it's going to be probably a little bit easier on your muscles. So yeah, if you want to speculate on the practical application, yeah, we can definitely speculate that. We can create up all sorts of hypotheses or theories about why they do that. But like if you ask canonically, because also there's a difference between we come up with a justification that works really well. That doesn't mean that's the canon. What we come up with as answers don't become canon. They are our head canon until such time as there is an explicit answer given to us. You would speak with the Lord, Commander. Pray, make it quick.
I want the defenses of the outer ward rechecked. See to it that the ballistas are in good repair and supplied with enough ammunition for a prolonged siege.
At once, my lord.
Ah, 'twould seem I have visitors, and unlike those massing beyond our walls, these ones are welcome.
Pray forgive us for interrupting you in the midst of your preparations, Sir Emmerich, but our suit concerns the impending assault. To speak plain, we believe there is a chance the invasion might be halted before it even begins. I can divulge little more at this time, but I must nevertheless request that you advise the Holy See to refrain from launching any preemptive sorties whilst we seek to put our plans in motion.
I will gladly lend my support to any endeavor.
Yeah,
that
and it's
puts bare
of
the
value.
blood of my country.
It's worth doing.
I would
It's just
know more
worth drawing the
of
line.
cause you would have me champion. Will you not share aught of this mysterious undertaking? Know that I have offered my lance to aid in this endeavor. I cannot claim that its success is assured, but our actions should serve to delay Nidhogg's advance at the very least. Which is more than can be said for the ill-conceived counterattack advocated by the sea's more vocal crusaders. They offer glorious death, but little hope of victory. Aye, their proposal does not inspire confidence. Our resources should rightly be spent shoring up the city's defenses. The Azure Dragoon and the Warrior of Light sallying forth together to face the dread worm Nidhogg. I must admit the mere thought of it does much to dispel my misgivings. Go then, carry out your plan. I shall do what I can for you within the Holy See.
Smart tactics. White mage seem to make it as many sweeps. Yeah, I mean, a lot of that's personalization, but we know that like the way in which you make magics can be somewhat rooted in your movement, but also like once a practice is developed a certain way, that can also affect it. So it could be. Maybe the conjuring white magic needs the wide sweeps to focus on the aether or disperse it before the cast. Probably not, because your ambient aether you're being drawn in from all around you. So it's not like there's a specific like patch of it you need to like move her into. I think the wide sweeps are more about, like, the wider movements are more about being free and open and flowing, like nature. Whereas, like, Black Mage is more about just, like bursting forth violently. Having secured Sir Aymerich's support, we may proceed without fear of preemptive Dashgardian attack, which is not to say we can afford to dither. History tells us the Dravanians will attack as soon as their horde reaches a critical size. Before that happens, we must needs track down and win over the Lady Iceheart, and then locate the parley with Nidhogg. What a strange notion. In short, time is against us. If you're ready, Istinian, let us be about our task. The other thing is that, like, Heavensward has the ability, the thing is, like, it's got, like, a very specific singular mission. In a way that, like, Stormblood, not only War on Two Fronts, but is, like, a complicated, nuanced thing going on. Like, you'll notice that the more that the stories have the ability to be, like, of, like, a really singular, focused mission, the more they can be like super entertaining.
Such commotion.
Why is that not
Your
immune?
Eminence. The bells of the observatorium warn of our enemy's approach. So, the dragons are coming.
It's interesting that the
Let them
observatorium
come.
bells
In their
are the ones that
hundreds
ring.
and their thousands. With the divine
Sound.
blade in our hands, we shall rend their flesh and drown the heretics in their master's blood. Even Nidhogg and his foul brood shall be powerless to resist us. And when we have rid the world of their pestilence, we shall turn our attention to our Eorzean allies. See that they are suitably rewarded for their invaluable assistance. If I may, Your Eminence, the Paragons wield powers strange and unknowable. Can we be certain that they will not see through our deception? We can be certain of naught save the righteousness of our cause. If you would be a true leader of men, you must possess conviction as well as caution. We seek to excise the root of an evil that has blighted us for 1,000 years. The risk is worth the reward. And what of Estinian and this warrior of light? They have plans of their own. Leave them to their purpose. We must each play the role we have been given. You and your chosen brothers most of all.
Have a great day, Deathberry. See you later. I'm glad you had fun.
For the glory of King Thordan.
Here. I've got a lot of headcanon. It's one of the best things about being the main character of my own story. I play Summoner primary and like to think that I have encyclopedia of how to talk to... Encyclopedia on how to talk to God? I'm not sure I understand your point, Long Branch. But I mean, like, yeah, like, headcanon's fine. The only problem is that you can't use headcanon for justification for anything in the game when you're talking about, like, canonicity and narrative. And the problem is, I think, people conflate those too easily. I've seen Tolkien books inspired by... Yeah, so Tolkien's books are a major fault for a lot of stereotypes that come into fantasy, which is ironic, because seeing as he's pulling from, like, you know, many things prior to him, that, you know, the ideas of fae and fairy, like the Norwegian, the Scandinavian tales, not even folk tales necessarily, but, like, you got your Beowulfs and stuff. But the thing is that, like, the elves of Arda are, like, a part of nature in a way where they just, like, are of the world, and so them eating like lambus bread or being like vegetarians is kind of just like was a little bit of an idea that wasn't necessarily really super a thing, and then continued to develop more and more from there, and just became more and more of a stereotype, because as their being of nature, of the world in that way, became more and more denoted as specifically the tall and fair, specifically the, like, you know, plant-eating, hippie-loving, like, it developed as a function of time. It wasn't any one thing that caused it. Yeah, that's in EE2, isn't that, Estriel? I have to wonder if holding the staff doesn't ever get tired for the Archbishop. Well, it's a staff of office, so I don't think he can not. I may have the wrong book. I knew it wasn't dictionary, so I'd take a shot at it. No, I mean, like, and I like, but you said I like to think I have an encyclopedia on how to talk to God. But, like, what God? I'm not sure I understand, like, who you're talking about. Like, summoners talking to God. Because there's not, like, a monotheistic deity in... are you talking about, like, the idea that summoner would be able to communicate with a primal? Because even then, the primals can communicate with everyone.
Before we set forth, we must need inform Tataru of our plans. Then I shall await you at St. Renee's Forum. Tell your friends we may be some time.
The road you have chosen is neither short nor easy.
Of that I have need no reminding, Asinian. Come, Elio, let us head back to Fortum's Manor.
Well, but so they don't, though. So Eggies aren't primals. You're not summoning the primal. You're summoning primals. You're summoning an etheric manifestation of, like, your memories of your experience of fighting them. So they're not actual entities in themselves. It's like the same way that, like, a minion of Bahamut is not Bahamut, or a minion of Titan is not Titan. You're basically just summoning an etheric extension of yourself. Projection? Yeah, I mean, they're basically just projections, but, like, you're required to have experienced a time in fighting with a primal, but you are not summoning a primal. Like, be very important. Like, that's, like, one of the things the Summoner Quest line talks about. Like, don't worry, you're not summoning a primal. It's not going to temper anything. This isn't bad. But the etheric signature of the primal you experience upon combating them. I think but chopping someone in the throat is a pretty effective use of a book as a weapon. That's true. So, like, here, why don't I pull up,
Our course is set, Tataru. It may be some time before Elio and I return to Ishgard.
We're gonna find you sail and kick some dragon ass. Oh, well, just try to be careful, alright? Oh, and don't worry about me. I'll be busy listening out for news of our lost friends.
If anyone can find them, it is you, Tataru. Farewell.
Oh, before you go, you must put this on, Alfino. I made it specially. That's when he gets the new clothes.
No, I could not possibly. Very well.
Much better.
By the 12, it fits perfectly, and the quality is actually rather good.
I'm glad you like it. I've been practicing my needlework while listening to rumors and the like. A good receptionist is always learning a new skill.
My thanks, Tataru. Whatever else awaits me upon the road, I shall not fear the cold.
'Twas the least I could do. Now I must be getting back to the tavern, or I'll never catch up with the gossip. Best of luck on your journey. Yeah, let's pull up. So, like, this is literally the entry for Eggy. Eggy, for all practical purposes, etherically beings created by harnessing the energy of a primal at the moment of its defeat and reshaping it into a biddable avatar. A process perfected in the Third Astral Era by the Allegan Empire's mages. Known as summoners, the word Eggy is thought to represent the concept of purity or essence in the Allegan tongue. So you're basically summoning like a copy projection of them based on the Aether. That's why you have to have experienced fighting a primal in order to be able to use an Eggy of that primal. And why so many people have Ifrit Eggies when you're dealing with the quest at first, because a lot of people kept dealing with Ifrit. Here, let's see if I can get some further clarification for you. No, that's not useful. Nope. So yeah, here's a good abbreviation. So in millennia past, there lived mages who had the power to siphon the very essence of primals, gods of Eorzea beast tribes, and then transmute that energy into ethereal entities under their command. Known simply as summoners, the existence of these men and women and their arcane art had all but been lost in the ages until recent resurgence triggered by the uncovering of long-lost knowledge. So like, there is an aspect of the primal stuff that is important, but summoners are programmers more or less, and they write programs to fight for them, if I'm not mistaken. Not really. Like, they use... So, like, you use a combination of spell casting, and you also use not geomantic, but you use arcanic symbols that you can store magics within. But, like, it's more like ethereal manipulation than it is programming, particularly. The programming stuff comes more in line with the Allegan stuff that happens in some of the later job quests, but that's not really about being a summoner so much as it is about Allegan technology and etherochemistry. But figure out Eggies is programming a copy to fight for us. I mean, only in so much that you treat all of magic as programming. Alfie, no drip! No more matching twinsies. Riker, good to see you, glad to have you. Yeah, writing in ethereal inks are basically making circuits. Yeah, kind of... ish.
Primals leave a certain etheric trace on us when we kill them. They disperse back into the aether. We use this and shifting of our aether to the desired element so that we can manifest Aggies. Yes, exactly, Chrissy. Perfect. Summoners still have that ridiculous forehead skull schlong of a horn. I question it. It's an etheric medium. I mean, it's no weirder than some of the other etheric mediums we see on different people. So would everyone having seen Bahamut count as dealing with a primal? It depends. The story doesn't get... So part of the argument of the story could be that the reason that you can do that with Bahamut is more actually to do with us fighting him in the Binding Coils. Now, that doesn't necessarily work if not everyone did the Binding Coils, so canonicity of that be damned. But one might argue that their closeness to him during the Calamity could be used as a justification. Summoner still... I understand how the Summoner actually works. It's just funny to think about him Google translating how to talk to Bahamut. But you're not. That's what I'm trying to get. Like, you're not... Like, your Eggy is a familiar you're summoning, and your book has nothing to do with talking to them. So I'm just trying to... thinking of that as a funny idea is fine. I'm just confused if you're saying, like, it's an actual thing, because it's not... That's neither what the books do, because the books are about casting your other spells, and then the Eggy is tied to a different thing, and it's not actually a primal. In search of Lady Oddheart. John, good to see you, glad to have you. Horn equals antenna? Yeah, basically. But I do love the subtleties of how things like that work. The Summoner armor is my absolute favorite armor piece in all of Final Fantasy. There you go. Where some people find the horn ridiculous, others love it. The Summoner horn in Final Fantasy XIV references the summon in... no, it goes all the way back to 3. Like, the Summoner horn... it might even be earlier for all I know, but the Summoner horn has been around for well over 20 years. For almost 30 years. That iconography has showed up in many... It's well before 9. Is it in all the Tactics games? As far as I know. I know it's in Tactics, but that's because Tactics is taking... A lot of the Tactics designs are being taken from older Final Fantasies as well. Like, every Final Fantasy takes from older Final Fantasies and then adds some new things. And then the next one takes some of the old things and some of the new things that the past one just added. That's how you get asked in this. But actually, you know what? Let me check real quick. Astral, you had that point about Ast earlier, and I want to make sure that is in EE2 and not EE1, because I want to be able to pull that out at a... Oh, interesting. So it's actually... No, there's more to it than that. It's not just... That's not just Astrologian clothes came from black mages. Given that the citizens of Sharlayan's birthplace of astromancy have spent hundreds of years studying cultures the world over and gradually incorporating their traditions, it should come to no surprise that Astrologians' attire appropriate elements from the garb of other disciples of magic, so not just Black Mage. For instance, the Welkin attire designed when the school was yet new strongly resembles the robes of Black Mage, down to the pointed hat. The Constellation attire developed much later is remarkably different, taking inspiration from Near Eastern garb. This trend may make different sets appear disparate indeed, but they are at least consistent in their motifs, which generally appear in the metal ornaments adorning each piece. Sun, moon, and stars. An Astrologian always twinkles like the night sky.
You have said your farewells, then.
Aye, we are ready to depart. I suggest we begin our search for Lady Eorzean without delay.
Very well, but she will prove an elusive quarry. Where do you intend to start?
In the absence of any fresh intelligence on your sales movement, I propose we pick up on the trail where she was encountered last, the Kurthis Western Highlands. Let us speak with Sir Redwald, was it? As the commander of Falcon's Nest, it is like that he will know if any heretic activity has been reported recently.
right. The guy from Falcon's Nest that we talked to with Artorial. Artorial of the Abyss. Well, Masterful Charon, what business brings you back to Falcon's Nest? Judging by your company you keep, it can be no trifling matter. The Azure Dragoon I know, of course, but I do not believe I have met this young man. Alfino Levior at your service, and if you are not mistaken as to the gravity of our mission, Sir Wedwall, as I am sure you are aware, the Observatorium has warned that the Dravanians gather for another assault. We believe there may be yet a way to avert the coming conflict, but only if we can find the elusive Lady Iceheart. Thus we have come to Falcon's Nest in the hope of acquiring the latest intelligence on the heretics' movements. I see. Then you would be best served by speaking directly to my men. A patrol is due to return from its sweep of the surrounding lands at any moment. You may also wish to question the knights assigned to pick over the remains of the heretic refugee at Gorgonae Mills. It is possible they have unearthed information that could be of use to you. Master Forcheron knows well the place I speak of, for it was he who first discovered it. Let us divide our forces then. I will stay here and await the return of the patrol, while the two of you visit the refuge. When I have completed my inquiries, I will join you there. A wise use of our time. Come, Elio. I'm eager to learn what Sir Redwall's men have found in the heretic's lair. I just ate a burrito and it made me so sleepy. I'm hoping the stream will help me fight off sleep, or I'll emerge later with QWERTY ingrained in my forehead. I mean, there's worse things than having keyboard buttons in your forehead. But ba! Hapatapakatapa! Ba! Hapatapa! Hapakatapa! Ba! I wonder if that helped at all, Cathra. But yeah, I hope your burrito was good. I know that I am very tired and hungry too, and I am looking at the clock thinking like, what am I going to do for food after? And it will be glorious. Oh, right, that's the final item. We need to go further, right? We need to go all the way to... Yeah. I think there's a value. I think there's a genuine value to being forced to, like, do the... Just, like, travel over the overland before you have flying. To really get a feel for the sense of how big maps are. Because once you have flying, they can so quickly become so small. I will say, though, Kurthus Western Highland has always felt particularly large. Even though, technically, I don't think it actually is any larger. It was really good, just needed sour cream, which I don't have at the moment. Sorrow. I'm probably going to try to get outside, because I can feel, the past couple days, I can feel that I'm on a downtrend towards a depressive low, so I'm going to try to go bike ride and then maybe get something yummy for me. If you enjoyed the stream and you aren't already a member of our Discord, why not come and join us at... yes, at discord.gg/Eorzean Archives. Thank you, Tethys. I'm about to have to go. My FC is going to run Void Arc several times to try and get armor. Sounds good, Long Branch. Have a great time. Thanks for joining. I missed the times of 11 where you just walked everywhere, and I'm now doing that again in 14 unless I need to fly or teleport back to the home base. Otherwise, I walk my ass back to Limsa. I like that for certain games. I also liked that more when I was a kid and had more time. And I do think that there's a lot to appreciate about that. But there's also a lot of times where life has become too fast and too onerous, and there's too many responsibilities for me to be able to just walk around or do flight paths in WoW as they used to be. And 11 was made in a different time. So because of that, I'm really appreciative of being able to, that the game can value my time and not make me feel like I'm having to trek back and forth. And also resent certain quests, potentially, because of having to trek back and forth without a lot in the way of... not support, but just, like, rapidity. And so, while I do think it is important... Oh, give me a second. I lost volume. Weird, all my volume just went out. Give me a second. That's why. For some reason, my headphone died. Like, don't get me wrong, I miss the open world design of playing in WoW, or, you know, sometimes the more connected maps sometimes of Guild Wars 2. But there's a reason that some of those simplicities needed to be made. You know, you can't expect everyone to have the time to do all of that. And when in games, especially if they've been designed to be competitive, or like the focus is the end game, or the focus is to get loot or whatever, to force people to have a 30-minute, 40-minute, 15-minute, whatever, entry point just to get to a place means that some people don't have more than 30 minutes to play. Master Forgeron, our findings, you say? Well, there is something of a tale there. No sooner had we chanced upon a promising-looking sheaf of letters than we were ambushed from the shadows by a great white beast. 'Twould seem the heretics foresaw our coming and left behind their pets to discourage further investigation. Several of our numbers were badly wounded. And you cannot carry out your duties until the creatures are slain. We have not the time to wait for reinforcements. Let us deal with these pets ourselves, Elio. Yeah, not even just the Aetherite system, I mean like the flying system, right? Like the flying system makes the world feel smaller. It does. But, that convenience is trade-off. So it's like, yeah. Sorry, guys. The beasts are slain, then? My thanks, Master Forgeron. We may return to our duties without fear of mauling. Mini Alphano! It's a weird place to give it, but okay. You wish to track down Lady Iceheart, is that not so? The records we discovered ere those beasts mauled my comrades appear to be some manner of correspondence. We had not the luxury of perusing the contents more closely, intent as we were on the surviving an onslaught of Fang and Claw, but I'd wager those epistles contain more than a friendly salutation betwixt lonely heretics. I don't know, maybe the heretics are just, maybe there's like there's OK Cupid, but like maybe for heretics. My interrogation of the patrol proved fruitless. Either we divine some clue from these letters, or we wander through the snowfields and pray that the gods lead us right to Iceheart's door. 'Tis hardly a choice at all. Last one upstairs. Bound fast unto our fate. Indeed. Have you recovered much of the heretics' correspondence? Splendid! Added to the contributions from Master Levieur and Sir Estinian, we now have more than a dozen letters. What have we here, then? Every one of these pages is a record of the dealings betwixt Grogerne, Mills, heretics, and their followers in the Akaf Amphitheater. There are requests for foodstuffs, clothing, and all manner of provisions. Iceheart's followers must yet inhabit the ruins we had thought abandoned. The Akaf Amphitheater, the very place where you witnessed the manifestation of the prideful Shima, was it not? If that is our destination, the journey will be long indeed.
The amphitheater lies on the other side of the treacherous tract of ice and snow we cannot swiftly be crossed. Then we must place our faith in Aethernet. As you may recall, our dear friend Moonbrita succeeded in recreating the Ak-Off beacon and had been destroyed by Lady Iceheart. At that time, it was assumed that the resultant aetherite would only be temporarily viable, but given that the heretics of Gorgon Mills seem to have been in irregular contact with their brethren at the amphitheater, I'll wager it still functions. I suggest we make it for the amphitheater with the Snowcloak, without delay. Correct me if I'm wrong, Estinian, but in the course of mapping the Snowcloak tunnel system, a passage was discovered leading out into the Western Highlands, was it not? Might it be possible for us to reach the aetherite from this side of the wall? It should be. House Durandare posted soldiers on the Western Highlands, and entrance after tunnels were cleared, but they will not deny us entry.
Can I ask Shadowbringers Ray questions here? Try to ask them not like in a roundabout method, and then we'll see if I can answer them. But broadly think, like, would you want something spoiled for you, right? Like, if you had not played Eden and someone started talking about Eden in chat, how would you feel, right? What blows my mind is the whole religion is formed from being in a war. I mean, isn't that, but like in times of desperation, isn't that when people most cling to or most look to any form of guidance or something to find value or life in? Yeah, I mean, like, I guess in it, well, you know, the thing is that I don't know that that's true, actually. Give me a second. One moment. Because if I'm not mistaken, the worship of Hydaelyn actually began before the war against the dragons. Oh my god. Control F, you're useless. Elven Settlers come to Sea of Clouds with it. Oh, actually, you know, I also have E too, don't I? Elven Settlers come to the Sea of Clouds, and they commence the construction of a mountainside sanctuary to Hydaelyn that will later become St. Thordan's Basilica. Yeah, and that's 360. That's well before the breach and trust between dragons and... So it actually didn't come out of war. It started, and it's been corrupted by the Dragonsong War. The Ishgardian Orthodox Church. The Ishgardian Orthodox Church is the dominant religion of Ishgard, and the Archbishop, the church's elected leader, has traditionally served as the nation's head of state. Once an institution of undisputed authority, the tumultuous culmination of the Dragonsong War exposed deceptions woven throughout the church-sanctioned history, leaving the clergy reeling in the aftermath of the damning revelations. According to scripture, the Ishgardian Orthodox Church was founded in the 545th year of the Sixth Astral Era by its first archbishop, a man later canonized as Saint Raymond. In an announcement made by Sir Aymeric de Borel, Lord Commander of the Temple Knights and Speaker of the House of Lords, the date was revealed to be false, with true history marking the church establishment as over 150 years prior. It was roughly around the year 360 when the Elves forced north into Abalathia's spine due to Hurrian expansion, and began the standardization of their faith, with the construction of a temple to Hydaelyn in the highlands of Kurthis. The settlers' decision to adopt the Fury as a patron deity was likely influenced to no small degree by the ever-present threat of hostile dragons. A decade later, however, the tragedy of Saint Shiva and the great worm Hraesvelgr prompted a true truce between Eorzean and the dragon, and for the next several generations, the church's teaching centered upon the principle of peaceful coexistence. This harmony was shattered in the year 545 with the King Thordan's heinous betrayal. I won't go into more detail about that. But yeah, so technically speaking, the church actually doesn't... The church as it is now is corrupted out of it, but... yeah, it's mostly to do... What did create an area... yeah, it's mostly to do with what did we create the areas we do fights. Like, are they all still there after the fight is done, or is it an illusion? Oh! It's mostly to do with did we create the areas we do to fights like that, or are they still there after the fight is done, or is it an illusion? It's a projection!
being created by Eden based off of our memories, based off of our memories being basically interpreted. So they are no longer there, but they were there when they were there. Not Hellenic, but the Holy See heretic thing. Yeah. Yeah, the schism of that, yeah, begins in 545. Yeah, the corruption of it all. Studies of relics from Allied civilization tell us that even 5,000 years ago, at the peak of the Third Astral Era, 6 and 6 deities were already ingrained in society. Yeah, yeah. The 12 worship we knew is existent in Allag even as early as we don't know for sure if there's times before that. We also know that third worship existed to some extent due to the potential witnessing of gods within the Third Astral Era as well from other figures. But yeah, there's symbols of 12 worship. The question, though, that's always been interesting is that if that's true, did the symbol for Menfina have 2 moons? Because Allag would not have raised Dalamud yet. The other thing we get, though, a bit is that they seem to have worshipped them kind of like how Charlene worships them, where it's not fully clear, but it seems that it's a lot more like cultural worship. Now, remember that Allag is also coming out of the First and Second Astral eras, and that's more akin to the time of gods anyways. So part of it may just be the remnant from those times.
Ah, the guests of House Fortoms, accompanied by the Astral Dragoon, no less. I cannot imagine what brought you out this far, but you are welcome to enter the tunnels if that is your will. Assuming the Archive Amphitheater still functions, and we pray that to the 12 it does, we shall arrive at our destination mere moments. Though I do not expect to be greeted by the primal Shiva, we should nevertheless be prepared for a frosty reception. The heretics are not like to rejoice at the appearance of uninvited guests, particularly one with our history.
Was there anything that brought that up, Tethys? Was there someone, we responded to someone, or did you just think that was cool, or?
An impressive structure. I wonder how many ages it has endured.
Mayhap you should ask its occupants. They seem a friendly bunch.
Dogs of Ishgard, it is not enough that you banish our beloved saint. Will you not be satisfied until the ice is slick with the last drops of our blood? Stay your weapons. We have come under the flag of parley. We wish only to speak with your mistress, that we might broker a peace.
Do you think us a fool, boy? I will take more than honeyed words to earn our trust. You walk with the Dragon Slayer, and we know all too well what he is capable of. Ah, my reputation precedes me.
They give us little choice.
Come, my brothers, may dragon wings bear us to victory. Just the reference to the whole religion from the war thing. Oh, yeah. Well, it's interesting because the 12's religion for Allag came well before Allag was a warmongering group, though. Though it's possible that 12 worship did cause wars and strife, and that's part of why the 12
your guard is down.
Restrained them from themselves, like left the world. Because they used to be more part and parcel to the world, and then they stopped sometime after the first few thousand years. And I have theories as to why. By the fury, they partake of the dragon's blood.
7 hells, can dragon's blood truly bring about such a transformation?
To some it can.
You should not have come here, Ishgardians. You are fortunate indeed.
Behold the power of true faith.
12 for Fend.
At last a foe I might sink my lance into.
Know your folly.
They fight like demons. 'Tis death to remain. Fall back, brothers! Retreat to the cinders! I see no sign of Lady Iceheart. Would that we could have questioned one of them. What would it ask that we could do not already know? They make for the cinders, and so must we, even should an ambush await us. 'Tis certain there will be more heretics to question. The cinders, you say? I confess the name is unknown to me. Mayhap you would be so good as to enlighten us, Justinian. I suspect it is the heretics, way of referring to the dreaming dragon, an island of sorts found in the midst of the frozen lake of Ashpool. Some 500 years past, 'tis told that the Azure Dragoon of the age found a dragon of titanic proportions. After a savage struggle, the mighty creature was weakened unto the point of death and forced into a magic slumber by an entire chapter of the Holy Sea's sorcerers. Ere long, a rain of ash and cinders did begin to fall upon the sleeping serpent's motionless form, covering these creatures at length in shrouds of grey. Of course, a thick layer of ice has since formed on top of it, but you may be sure I speak true. A fascinating tale. We should make haste to this Ashen Isle. Thank you, Ray Ray. Yes, since this is YouTube, we are contractually obligated to say like the button, share the button, and subscribe the button. Comment and join. Become one of the people with emotes. Let me see your emotes. The dreaming dragon lies far to the west. Before we approach the frozen beast, however, there's another place I would visit first. Kokula, good to see you, glad to have you. Wait, when did you grow an Eorzean beard? A week ago? I mean, technically, I grew the beard in like 2 days, and then I just shaved it down. Also, good to see you, glad to have you. I am told the convocation is set up to Camp Twin Pools. The leader, Genlet, may have information of use to us. But mayhap you are not familiar with the name either. They come victors of the Dragon Slayers, after a fashion, but I'm willing to wager they encounter their fair share of heretics. If we are indeed walking into a trap, I would learn all there is to know of our foes. A sound suggestion. Let us speak with these convictors, then, and temper our haste with a measure of caution. Thank you, Jellybean. Thank you, Demins. Thank you, Silvicogak. I wonder if enough time will pass in the game that we would get to see Midgard Summer well and whole again. Here's the thing. If we go by the short stories, no. If we go by the short stories, we definitely won't. We could see him again, but definitely not roused back to like full consciousness and not full life. But they could choose to play it differently, and there could be alternate situations that could allow for his resurrection to be more complete. Though I'll say it would be very strange to not see the Agrius and Midgard Summer in the middle of Silver Tier. But the alternate timeline, the eighth Calamity's alternate timeline has a short story about it, and it ends with Midgard Summer awakening. So, and that's a couple hundred years. So unless we're getting a ridiculous time jump in Final Fantasy XIV too, I doubt it. Did anybody else see that OGP really wants to make another MMO? Because, like, he inherited 14. And so he like, as much as he got to make some things from the ground up with AR, there was a lot of baggage and debt and things that had to be dealt with. But he really wants to be able to make another MMO. I say give the man the budget. As long as you make either him have a co-director or something, so that he can, because the man's stretched thin as is. I mean, he reiterated too, like, 14's his life work, and he's going to be focusing on 14 for decades to come, in his words. Ooh, piece of candy. I'd love to see what he'd do with his own Final Fantasy MMO. I mean, this is his Final, but yeah, from the scratch, like a Final Fantasy 18 as an MMO. The problem is that a new Final Fantasy MMO would be a competitor to 14. Like, you can say that 11's not a competitor to 14, and in some sense it's not because of the distance between them. But if you made one now, if you made a Final Fantasy 18 sometime in the next couple of years, it would basically be a direct competitor to 14. So to some extent, I guess it would be better for him to make his own thing. Though I would love it for it to be Final Fantasy. Well, well, what do we have here? Hoping to join the esteemed ranks of the convictors, are we? The hard-eyed lad looks promising, but you have a frail look about you, boy. I give you the 3 days ere the wilds claim your corpse. I beg your pardon? Be not so quick to judge. I have seen this frail youth fell heretics with a flick of his wrist. And who are you to question my— By the Fury! That armor, that lance. The Azure Dragoon himself graces our camp. Pray, forgive my disrespect, sir. I am Hydaelyn, a leader of the convictors and fellow slayer of dragons. May I ask what winds, fair or foul, carry you into our humble camp? We're here to kick some ass and take some names, and find a sweet-ass-looking Elzen woman. Ah, Lady Iceheart, is it? Aye, I know her by reputation, but I'm afraid I've seen naught of her or her people. That said, my own men can be, somewhat lax when it comes to making reports. You may wish to question them yourselves. Thank you, and we shall. I too can tell a man by his lens. Elio, Estinian, let us make our way through the camp and see what information there is to be had.
I just want him to be able to do whatever he wants, but also get the snowboarding vacation he deserves. Yeah. Maybe just put snowboarding as a mini game into the gold saucer. There, done, solved. I forget what are all the yeah, that one, and that one's 1 too, right? Yeah. Actually, how many Aether? It's pretty easy to identify a man by his gay bulge. Chili Bean, you don't even care for gay bulges that much. Unless you're talking about aestheticism. Just the aesthetic of the gay bulge.
Surely one of these people will have encountered heretics while out hunting. Pray, speak with me as you may can, Elio. Test.
Blitzball could easily be a gold saucer minigame. Well, so they've talked. There's Astriel, I'm gonna say we can talk about this at some point, but like this is a whole can of worms. They have wanted, the short thing is they've wanted to do Blitzball and Gold Saucer, but they don't want to do it just like 10, but if they don't do it like 10, is it really doing it Blitzball? Also, is the time investment worth doing it? Their preliminary investigations to it have been left them uncertain if they will ever do it, but they potentially want to do it. So, yes. It would be a new thing for Limsa. You'd see that. That would definitely be a Gold Saucer thing, for sure. And if anything, I would say it shouldn't be Limsa. I'd definitely make it New World or Mericidian to explain why it hasn't been around.
Looking for heretics, you say? Why do you go and bother Pire? Or someone? I've had enough trouble keeping these preening fops fed and clothed as is. 'Tis no business of mine what folk do with themselves out there in the wilds.
High fives at the Domins. All y'all about them gay bulges. What if I have a straight bulge, huh? What are you gonna do then? I feel like Gold Saucer Blitzball would go the way of Lord of Verminion. It's too much for a minigame. I don't think that's the problem with Lord of Verminion. I think the problem with Lord of Verminion is most people don't find it very fun. I also don't necessarily agree in that, like, because the thing is, like, a bunch of people do Chocobo racing, and there's a bunch to do in that. If you may, like, Lord of Verminion rounds are too long. Not enough people play it. The rewards aren't necessarily that great, and the thing is Blitzball could be a really good time, especially if you could travel over. People do a lot of people play a fuck ton of Triple Triad. If you made matches like only 10 minutes long in Blitzball, and you could go around the world and actually collect NPCs in the world as your like Blitzball participants, and like made a like really fun and engaging minigame out of it, I think a lot of people actively would engage with it. I think Verminion has many problems beyond that. No, I don't, but I have to be corny and or appropriately lewd whenever possible. Gobbler approach prerogative. Understood, Jelly. Plus, the mini game requires a lot of minions collecting. Yeah, like I think Verminion has a bunch of like things going against it that I think Blitzball could easily overcome.
Are there any heretics in the area? I have not the faintest idea. Why, a heretic could pass under my very nose and I should be none the wiser. I hunt dragons, my dear fellow. The big ones. Forever do I scan the sky for signs of my prey. I care not for the miserable creatures that scurry upon the ground.
Even if they gut you in the back?
Nay, I know of no heretics. Do you honestly expect me to keep track of every Ratamo and Veramon and Bertanan and the wanderers in and out of the camp?
Not Mark, good to see you, glad to have you. So brave of you to catch up on the MSQ before next Tuesday and all on stream. Yes, definitely gonna get to 6.2. Gonna get all the way to 6.2 by Tuesday.
That won't be problematic, especially because I technically have the rest of the week won't be streaming MSQ. Summoned, I can help with you, my lord. Summoned? What? Weird. Heretics, is it? Well, I've never seen one myself, but that ain't to say I haven't heard a thing or two. We would be grateful for any information you can share with us. The gods know we've gleaned precious little from talking to the rest of these people. If it pleases my lord, Purecat, a soldier by trade, though not much of one if I'm honest. If it weren't for the love of stabbing folk that I took up the spear, see. No, it was by the order of Sir Genelot's father. Still, as long as they keep paying me wages, I ain't fussy as what they want they have me do. Not everyone here's as patient as me, though. Plenty of low-born lads who get up preserved into service start grumbling before they've seen their second battle. And once they've got thinking of how unfair it all is, it don't take much for the heretics to turn their heads. From what I hear, the simple promise of freedom tends to do it. That may explain how Lady Ashart was able to expand her following so swiftly. Sad to say, some mates of mine gobbled down the heretics' tripe and asked for a seconds. Told me they were off to the Western Highlands to light a signal fire. That's how you let the heretics know you're serious about joining their ranks, apparently. Send up some purple smoke and the bastards come to you. Is that so, then? Why, then, I am minded to start a fire. We're on day 6 of our MSQ. Of our MSQ-a-thon, we just searched Dragobringers. Here's what I'll say. I would definitely do an MSQ-a-thon if people were interested in it. But, you know, the problem is we have to make sure that there's videos that come out that actually get views for the YouTube. Otherwise, A, I don't make money that can be used for the archives or eating. And the other issue is, yeah, I mean, honestly, that's the main issue. The main issue is that if we had a bunch of videos we could get out and, like, a bunch of people were interested in a stream-a-thon, I would totally, I would do, like, 7 days straight of just MSQ streams. I'd sleep in the fucking chair. We'll fucking do it. We'll go from here to Azis Low and on. We'll get the Shadowbringers in under a week. Actually, probably at the pace that we go, we'd still take a couple weeks. Probably pronounce it Miskathon. If we are to lure our foes to our position, then we must find a means of producing a signal of purple hue. As it so happens, I once heard the tale of a trapper who dropped the hide of a woolly yak onto his campfire. Aside from the terrible stench, the story also described in detail how the smoke from the smothered flames was tinged a deep violet. You are a monster hunter of some note, are you not, Elio? It should prove a trifling task for you to procure a number of hides. We may need to burn more than one ere the heretics notice our beacon. Master Alfino, you and I shall gather wood for the fire. I will take the both of us to find the dry fuel in the frozen wasteland. Let us meet again at the Dreaming Dragon with the fruits of our labor. Ba 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 da ba ba da da. Kill the last of the woolly madness. I do think that in terms of like music being perfect for the zone, though, too, this music is so perfect for the Western Highlands. That made me laugh. Poor Alfie's wood gathering, which in later games play, he is very proud of. Bound fast unto our fate. Wheels unbending, faith unending, stone defending, now our faith shall sing. Cathra, this is the point where I stop pouring BBQ sauce on Elf. At long last, Tethys has come to love the boy. The boy is no longer deserving of the BBQ sauce, which is rather ironic as that emote is going to be done soon, hopefully as soon as Lady gets it done. But what use will we put it to, I wonder? Estinian. 'Twould seem that collecting the firewood is a new experience for Master Helfino. He must have been had a privileged upbringing. As you have the hides we need. Actually, let me talk to him. I left Iscard on a mission of noble purpose, and now here I am scrabbling for sticks in the snow. How can my hands be at once so numb, yet so sore? Ah, I see you've never been to the Midwest, Alfino. I mean, that's going to be Estinian onto Endwalker, so yeah, that's true, Dest. Oh, that's a lovely color purple.
Ah, I should have known it would be you.
Oh, guys, what should we add for the next emoji? We have access to another
Word reached
emoji
me of a
now.
struggle with a small but well-armed band of trespassers. Forgive my comrades their hostility. Few come here uninvited, and fewer still with good intent.
You sail!
Now,
You're on our side.
tell me why you are here. So, you seek to stem the Dravanian tide with talk? A romantic notion. If you but knew the truth, the spark which lit the flames of this animosity, you would understand the futility of your quest.
Then tell us. For all that is holy.
Shall I relate it to you?
Yes!
The sordid history my gift has shown me. That which the Holy See has taken such pains to suppress. 'Twas more than a millennium past when an Eorzean tribe first sought to claim the lands of Kurthas as its home. Unfortunately for them, Kurthas was already home to dragonkind, and they were not inclined to make way for the invaders. Thus did a bloody war begin, a war which might well have rumbled on until one or the other side was exterminated, had it not been for the resolve of a single woman. That woman's name was Shiva. While those around her fought and died, she attempted to parley with the dragons, and in so doing discovered them to be possessed of profound intelligence and reason. The great worm Hraesvelgar, in particular, so enchanted Shiva that she found herself growing to love the creature, whom her people considered a monster. In the eyes of a near-immortal dragon, however, the fleeting life of an Eorzean is as that of a freshly cut rose. Scarce has the flower bloomed before it begins to fade and wither. Such melancholy musings plagued Hraesvelgar, who had found in Shiva an unexpected and beloved soulmate. He knew that all too soon, death would snatch her away from him. Unable to bear the thought of their separation, the maid bid the worm consume her, that their spirits might be entwined for eternity.
Four. Where's Demins?
Though loath to perform the deed, Hraesvelgar ultimately gave in to her plea, and soon thereafter the tale of their ill-fated love spread throughout the two warring factions. No more could they raise blade or claw against one another, knowing that the souls of their kin were so inextricably bound. In the days that followed, man and dragon learned to live in harmony, and together built a nation unlike any the world had ever known. For 200 years did this blissful age of peace continue, as it would to this day, had vilest envy not stirred in the hearts of the Eorzean. It is said that worms owe their longevity to the boundless reserves of vitality found within their eyes. And 'twas in this belief that a traitorous band of knights deceived their allies of some 2 centuries. and took by force that which they coveted. Nidhogg, he who now stands poised to unleash his wormlings upon Ishgard, was the great dragon who lost an eye to Eorzean treachery. And until he prizes it from the hands of the traitor's progeny, no amount of conciliatory words will stay his fury.
You are wrong, Lady Iceheart. Lest you misunderstand, I do not doubt your vision of the past. 'Tis true that Nidhogg greatly desired to reclaim the Eye. Indeed, it was for that very reason that I kept it with me as I roamed the land, attempting to draw him away from the city.
Okay, helpful to make Estinian's thing work better.
Good gods.
That's on you, Dest. If you weren't expecting boring in your fantasy
Until
game, you don't know the
recently,
Japanese.
Nidhogg seemed unable to resist its allure and pursued me relentlessly. Needless to say, that is no longer the case. Now, it would seem, he has fixed his attention on Ishgard itself, though he knows full well the Eye does not reside there.
You believe he targets the capital for another reason?
I believe reason has all but left him. Through the Eye, I feel much of what Nidhogg feels, and the dragon's thirst for vengeance will not be quenched by aught less than a sea of blood.
If Nidhogg is indeed lost to reason, might we not seek an audience with Hraesvelgr instead? He has thus far shown no inclination to aid in the invasion of Ishgard, and may yet welcome our efforts to broker a peace.
You still believe that a peaceable solution can be found? Very well. I will take you to him. Our road will lead us to Dravania, the homeland of dragonkind. There we shall ascend unto the clouds, where Hraesvelgr resides.
You say also you needed an undershirt. Like, I love your outfit, but put on an undershirt for God's sakes. Video from Shiva, crushed by high heels from Skaha, musical Tiger Daddy, so many fetishes in the game. Look, it's all there. Femrose. Cat girls. Degradation. Being imprisoned. Bindings. There's a lot of bondage stuff. Power alignment. Chain flashes back to P1S. Yep.
Is autumn mist, my friend?
Woo! Sections of
the long
Hydaelyn
battles
return to
are beginning
us.
to take their toll. Rest a while, and should you lose sight of us, Dravania lies beyond the mountains to the west.
MIDI being MIDI. Our Greek chorus MIDI.
Curious. The vestiges of thy mistress's blessing are not as faint as once they were. Thy will to succeed grants thee unusual fortitude. But will it be enough?
He literally is just our Greek chorus. I'm down for sour raspberry. Definitely very sour. But yeah, despair I think is the most correct. Slope! Ysael is one of like 4 acceptable waifus. Okay, but who are the other 3 then? Because you've got, like, Sadu, Y'shtola, Moonbrita. I mean, like, depends on also, like, what you're, like, not sexually, obviously, but, like, Tataru and Kryl are awesome. Like, those, man, like, yeah, okay, so you have that, I mean, like, you've got, there's so many female characters. I mean, also, depending on what you're into, maybe Aenor is not, like, the worst waifu in the world, you know? Like, I mean, like, if you're really horny and she's really horny, yeah. Well, I said more than 3, though. Tsuyu and Fordola. Fordola as a waifu? I can't follow you on that one. Tsuyu I can see. Sorry, I read that wrong. Tsuyu, okay. But Fordola? Yeah, zero waifu energy for me for that. By the way, you guys may want to refresh chat. And check the emotes. Oh, actually, we're Chocobo's room. Oh, so that's actually it for the MSQ for today. So let's head back. Yeah, I guess I don't really see most like hardcore ass tsundere. Like to me, like, it's not even tsundere though. Like, cause like more like genuine. Yeah, there we go. Let's get the boy then. Deadpool. Oh, smiles. Oh, it's good smiles. Oh, it's good smiles. Oh, it's good smiles. Can you kiss? Did you have a good walk? You out on a walk? Oh, you ready to be down? You ready to go back upstairs? You go away from people? Go get him. Go get him. Hey? Hey? Go get him. Masija is a big fan of one episode of Full Metal Alchemist. Yeah. I guess for me, like, I mean, one, I guess not super into tsundere, but like, also, I guess for me, for Dola, just because she's stoic and stern, that's not like tsundere. Like, to me, part of tsundere is also not just about being those aspects, but also being about those aspects despite your context. And like, she's so far more rough and tumble and far more like a byproduct of the suffering she's gone through, not just with the heart of gold underneath, but like more beyond that. Like, don't get me wrong, I would love to be friends with Fordola or go drinking with Fordola, but like, waifu is a very different energy to me. Okay. Gives off dad vibes, yeah, a little bit. I'm thinking I'm gonna call it a little bit early so I can eat and so I can do some extra work. Because I also want to help try to solve some stuff with my wonderful, wonderful mods who I appreciate very, very much. Thank you to Ray and Tethys for all the work you do, and I love spending time with you guys and being able to talk to you guys in the reg. With that said, though, this will be it for the week, but when we start next time, we'll be in Dravania. So day 1, we're going to be going through the Dravanian Forelands, and then should be going into, let me check really quick. Do I have MSQ still up? Yeah. We'll be going through the Dravanian Forelands, and basically we'll end that at when we arrive at the Churning Mists. And then after that, we'll probably go through the Churning Mists in that day. Man, we're fucking flying through Heavensward. Holy crap. Holy moly. Yeah, I think it maybe not. We may pause it. We may, depending on how it works out, but we may, by the end of next week, be done with the Aerie and headed onto the week after that, the Vault. So, just a thought.
But with that said, I've been Elio Faucheron. You should definitely check out our stuff. We have stuff on Monday, Tuesday. We have the MSQ replay. On Wednesday, we put out a new video. Tomorrow's video will be about the Moonfire Fair. It was going to be out earlier, but I didn't have time to get even more videos out, and I'd like to build up a buffer of videos. So hopefully you guys will enjoy that. Sorry to be a bit late. On top of that, on Thursday, I will be taking that. I take that day off, and what I actually do is work on more videos because that's a day that I still have normal work, but I also try to get extra work done. Anyways, Friday, we have Lore Book Club. If you're interested in Lore Book Club, come over to our Discord and sign up for it. Press the interested button. Let me know that you're interested. On top of that, just come join our Discord. It's a lovely place where we have all sorts of lovely conversations. I will make sure that I will go responding to some questions over on there after this. On Saturday, we have the community stream, which a bunch of you guys were just positioning ideas at, and I didn't have time to read before stream began, so I'm going to go read those after this. And on Sunday, we have Sloppy Sunday over on the Twitches, which we are growing up slowly. With all of that said, come check out our written lore on eorzeanarchives.com if you like the Twitters. We have some fun stuff over in the Twitters. And if you like talking to people who are highly intelligent, wonderful good times, and I like to consider my friend, why not message the mods on our Discord and tell them how much you appreciate them? With that said, I'm going to be heading out here. Oh, Des has been playing catch-up. Which one is it, I wonder? Is that it? Who knows? Either way. Thank you all so much, and I am looking forward to seeing you guys very, very soon. Yeah, and I'm about to head out. Cheers, all. Running around and